Simon on the far side out of his own zone. Looking to break out. Nice little saucer pass to Bobby J, who stick handles into the zone. Pinched off along the boards, but he moves it ahead for Ed Ward. Ward battling Wilson and a couple of big boys there as they bring it to the corner. Donnelly digs it out. Donnelly just had it swept off his stick. Fed up the boards as Gillen got it out to center, and racing after it is Pankowitz. Simon coming back to help out, plays it away. Sent in front as Pankowitz picked it off on the back wall, but nobody there. And now Bobby J ahead for Ed Ward. Ward playing for the first time in 4 games after a knee bruise and assorted stitches above the eye. Dumps it in, but they rule from the wrong side of center ice. They rule that's an icing call, and that has Ed Ward a little bit perplexed, and can't say as I blame him there.
Tough one, actually.
It has been an interesting season for Manitoba. If you take their 28 games to date, you can pretty much split them right down the middle and see 2 different teams. They have found it here in the second half of the first third of the season, if you can follow that. And meanwhile, Detroit has struggled, relatively speaking, at home when you compare it to their road record. A tale of 2 teams for each team. Puck into the Manitoba zone. Phil Crow bumps Chris Tock. Tock handles it to the near side. Up the boards. The defensive pressure comes from the point as Shaw pinches in. Now Mike Stevens handles it in the near circle and feeds it ahead. The return pass he couldn't quite handle. Tardif had it knocked off his stick and brought in by Arneal. Arneal gets it to Stevens in the high slot, looking for anyone going to the net. It was Loader, but that was broken up by Tardif, who just sends it back into the Manitoba zone and changes for Detroit on the go. Jeff Riccardi back to get it, formerly of Indianapolis and Las Vegas. Feeds it ahead for Stevens. Through center ice, tripped up at the blue line. A penalty coming up to Detroit was Scott Arneal. And the first power play of the game will go Manitoba's way as Al Kimmel has a hooking penalty. That is going to go on Robert Dirk.
In the early going here, John, better speed by Manitoba, and they're definitely taking the body here early on, trying to establish that forecheck.
Well, the Moose played last night in Quebec and had an interesting travel schedule from there that oftentimes would have people thinking that they might not have any jump tonight. This Jean Perron coach team got here to Detroit and to their hotel around 1 o'clock this afternoon. After busing to Montreal immediately after the game in Quebec last night, they got there about 2 a.m., then flew into Detroit after getting up for a 6 a.m. wake-up at around 11:30, and by the time they arrived at their hotel, it was 1 o'clock. They are not well rested, but as you mentioned, seem to have some jump. Nearly gave it up in their own zone, but now on the power play, in they come. Right to the slot. Perrot reaches with the glove, and he cannot get his stick, or can't get his glove on that one. It's 1-0 as Chris Jensen went high to beat him, and that took only 19 seconds on the Manitoba power play.
Perrant has been beaten high to the glove side a few times here lately in the last few games. That is his style, the V style. The play was kind of a broken play, blue line. Good feed to the middle. The key there for Jensen, he got rid of it quickly, and Bernie seemed to be in between. On his way down, got a piece of it, and it trickled. Looks like under his arm.
I thought he had it in his trapper. It didn't touch the back of the net, but it crossed the goal line, so it's 1-0. McLaughlin just backhanding it up the boards out of his own zone, alleviates pressure with an icing call. So the Moose have the early lead.
You can tell which house has the Vicks NyQuil and which doesn't. Bob and Fred both came home coughing, sneezing, stuffy, aching all over. Bob's house had a cold medicine which only relieves his stuffiness and aching. While Fred's home had Vicks NyQuil. It relieves all his symptoms, his coughing, sneezing, stuffiness, and aching. So unlike Bob, Fred gets the rest he needs. That's the restful plus of Vicks NyQuil. It's the cold relief you want to come home to. Vicks NyQuil.
You know what I'm sick of hearing about?
The internet.
The internet.
The internet. What are you doing?
Surfing the web.
Nice hair. Solarized pictures of dead fat rock stars. UFOs. $1 zillion worth of technology, and what are we doing with it?
Browsing.
Here's an idea. Use the internet for something useful, like running a business, okay? All right? No kids, no chat rooms, no smiley face. Just raw, naked, in your face capitalism. You want to surf? Move to Maui.
Before the puck is dropped. Saturday nights are spent here. SO NHL Saturday night. This weekend, TSN.
Or checking out any Ticketmaster location. 1-0 Manitoba as McLaughlin sends it again the length of the ice wide of the net, and this will be the third icing call off the stick of rookie Pete McLaughlin as it's touched up the face-off once again back into the Detroit zone. The Vipers would like to thank Visual Designs for their support of tonight's game. They provided the opening animation. For all your animation needs and graphics expertise, call Visual Designs, 800-842-6604.
Sean Perron trying to make sure that his team stays hot on the road. They're in the middle of a 4-game road trip. Started as far east as they possibly could, make their way back west. Tough schedule in the eye. Trying to make the most of it here on the road.
Not the most geographical advantageous trip. You go Quebec, Detroit, and Grand Rapids, Cincinnati, or is it the other way around? Cincinnati, Grand Rapids.
Cincinnati, Grand Rapids.
They're crisscrossing this great country. Simon leads a 3-man rush into the Manitoba zone. Drops it for the trailer. Shaw, his drive hit Corvo in front, and down he went. Back comes Pankowitz to center as up and down for the first time tonight. Offside are the Moose. We thought we might see a wide open style of hockey game because the Moose have been playing some pretty high scoring games of late, at least by the 96-97 standards, and that's the first real dose of it we have gotten. As you see, Manitoba has not had that much trouble scoring of late, but that goes hand in hand with some problems stopping their opponents as well.
Giving up the goals, but they're giving up great scoring chances as well. Talking to Jean Perron before the game, a little concerned with not only the number of shots they're giving up per game, but the quality chances that they're giving up.
Both his goaltenders, Brathwaite and Riendo, with over 90% save percentages, keeping the Moose in some games. Right now, the Moose with a 1-0 lead, 11:40 to go, opening period. Outlet pass up the left side, all the way back into the Detroit zone. This will be an icing call as Parrott gets there first to touch up. Jeff Parrott from The Paw, Manitoba, the only Manitoba native on the Viper Club.
That's right. I was going to say, John, that not only Bobby J, but Jeff Parrott going to see more ice time with Ian Herbers out, depending on how well Brad Shutt's back responds to the treatment. More ice time. Jeff's been very solid back there as well this season.
I believe his most offensive professional season saw him get all of 20 points. So you look at players like Parrott, Dirk, and Bobby J, and these are guys who stay at home, get their points when they come. Don't worry about it if they don't. As Dirk rips one on net off the draw, Parrott then fires it wide short side on the carom. However, in the absence of Herbers, that leaves really Brad Shaw as the most offensive defenseman remaining. He always is the most offensive defenseman on this team, but Herbers has had a pretty nice offensive year, particularly on the power play.
Yeah, Ian really picked it up, started last year in the playoffs. Was a big contributor to the playoffs offensively, and has carried it over this year, as you said, mostly on the power play.
Vipers trying to clear twice up the middle, and neither time does it succeed. Telaire got a weak shot on net. Perront steering that away, and then Donnelly had the puck go behind him. He didn't see it. And the puck down low in the Detroit zone. Sean Telaire, a Manitoba native himself, able to freewheel along the near wall, brings it high, and then backhands it down low. Pass went right through and out to center as Jensen couldn't get his stick on it, and Donnelly will dump it in. Riendo has not been very busy of late, and he's out to play the puck. An early 6-2 shot advantage for Manitoba, make it 6-3 as Riendo nonchalants that one into the crowd from far off the right wing boards. Bobby J just got it on net. I thought for a minute he nonchalanted that thing right into his net.
He tried to kick it up over the crossbar, and you're right, he just barely cleared the crossbar and then cleared the glass. Started talking about the Manitoba natives, only one on the Vipers. A number of Manitoba natives here on this Manitoba Moose team, and they started training camp with a number of people in camp. You see the guys who are still on the roster are Neil, Gillen, Telaire, Allison, and Romanuk. They started with a good handful, almost a dozen guys hailed from Manitoba. John Perron putting his team together early on in the summer.
Bobby Jay's shot from the point didn't get through traffic. He is unable to corral the return pass from Savaglia, and the Vipers turned it over. Stevens in with a long wrist shot, and then he paid the price as he collided with Bobby Jay. Perron with the save. Puck sent to the line, held in there, and Eric Dubois got rocked as well. Vipers starting to throw the bodies around a little bit. Stevens along the far side, hit by Savaglia. Pulls away, but it was poked free by Pete, and Ward springs Drulia. Drulia into the Manitoba zone using his body. His shield couldn't pull the trigger, but he scored anyway! Off the toe of his stick, Riendo battled it, and he lost the fight.
He misfired, but he got the job done.
Now, not the two prettiest goals I think you'll see all year, but in talking with Steve Ludzik and Viper general manager Rick Dudley before this one, they both said we need more ugly goals as a result of going hard to the net. And that's the sum of this play by Drulia.
And you'll have two different coaching reactions. John Perron will not be happy with his goaltender, but Steve Ludzik will be very happy with the play that Pete Savaglia made on the half wall and Ed Ward made at the blue line to spring Drulia free.
And this is exactly the kind of goal Stan Drulia needs. Drulia has the most goals of anyone in the IHL in the last 3 years coming into this season, 133 over his last 3 seasons. He is a big-time scorer, but has only 7 thus far through 28 games this year, and he's been snake bit. He has 25 shots on goal in his last 4 games coming into tonight. But no matter how good his chances have been, he hasn't been able to score in any of those games. And up until now, if it wasn't on the power play, really Stan hasn't produced much. 50% of his offense has come on the power play this season. Long drive doesn't get through traffic as Manitoba puts early pressure right back into the Detroit zone. Simon there to clear it away. And now he'll carry out. Ward and Savaglia will get the helpers as Detroit ties it. Shaw carries into the Manitoba zone. Pulls up, just wrist shot on net that Riendo's able to handle to the corner. And a few Bronx cheers, if you will, here at the Palace as Talk plays it away. Romanuk dumps it to center, and it's dumped into the Detroit zone where the Moose will get wholesale changes. Parrott weaves his way to center and chips it in on net again. Riendo careful to glove that one, and he will take no more chances. 8:51 to go in a tie hockey game. First period at the Palace.
Hi, everyone. Brendan Connor in the TSN newsroom. Hope you're enjoying our IHL hockey game, and hope you're ready to join Michael Landsberg and me for the next edition of Sports Desk coming up at 11 o'clock Eastern. We've got some NHL stuff to tell you about. Two best teams in the East going at it tonight. That's Hartford and Florida. And we've also got NBA action with the Raptors in Boston with a very real chance to win their first one on the road. And football and baseball news as well, all coming up on Sports Desk at 11.
Sometimes little things go unnoticed. This time it won't go unnoticed because Stan Drulia put the biscuit in the basket. Nice little play inside the blue line by Ed Ward to Drulia, and then hard work from there. He misfired, but all that hard work in their own zone paid off. Vinny Riendo, that's not one of his highlights. That won't show up in his personal highlight film.
Ward gets it to Tardif, and he scores! Detroit off the draw, able to control despite losing the draw, wins the battle on the back wall, and Ward with a quick pass to Tardif, and the Vipers have the lead.
Again, little things. Offensive zone face-off won by the Vipers. Quick shot. Again, Vinny Riendo off to a pretty shaky start here in the early going.
Tardif, who played 4 years of college hockey at the University of Maine, and Ed Ward. Nice return for him. 2 assists here in the opening period. But Tardif got the shot off quickly. That was the key there.
That was the key, and Riendo wasn't set. His feet were still moving. Vipers strike right back and take the lead.
2-1 Detroit. Be interesting to see how Manitoba reacts. And now Al Kimmel has a penalty on the play. And this is going to go against Manitoba, an elbowing call. And I think he's got Scott Allison here. Allison, who is not bashful about using that big frame of his at 6'4", 203. Leads his team in penalty minutes coming into tonight, and he did nothing to hurt that standing there.
Oh, great one. You said, how would they respond? Face massage to Bobby J by Scott Allison. Not exactly the response that Jean Perron was looking for, kind of an undisciplined response.
Well, you mentioned it in your keys to the game segment early on that the Vipers wanted to get out to an early lead on this team. Again, talking about their travel from last night. Were they going to feel like they were tired? Well, if they get behind, it's easier to feel tired. And the Vipers get their first power play of the game as a result. Savaglia hammers it around the board. Samsonov, the 18-year-old Russian rookie, to the corner after it. Simon along the wall as they overload the right side, gets it to Mongeau, and he and Savaglia play catch. Now they'll trade places to Simon at the line. His drive over top of the net. Mongeau looking for a deflection. Wired back around the boards and out as the Moose are able to clear. Half a minute gone, and the penalty to Allison. Vipers reset at center ice. This is Savaglia. One of two remaining original Vipers dumps it in. Eric Dubois sends it around, knocked down by Samsonov. Tripped up, but he kept it alive, and now Shaw at the line. To Savaglia, left wing half wall. Vipers are set up, 1:05 to go on the power play. Savaglia says we'll try the other side and sends it around. Simon at the right point has it there. Romanek forces him. Mongeau sends it over to Shaw. Shaw back across for Simon. Well, they're moving it nicely. Now Mongeau comes to the middle. His shot deflected by Shaw. Loose in front, and Shaw got it out of midair and sent it over top of the net as Riendo failed to cover. To the corner, Mongeau has it. 40 seconds to go on the power play. Wanted to reverse it, now does to Savaglia. Again, they'll trade places. For the line for Simon. Quickly shovels it right back to Savaglia. Pete on the goal line, finds Mongeau. Quick pass, Samsonov, save Riendo, and the rebound to the corner. Half a minute in the power play. Samsonov circles off the board, stick save Riendo as he snapped that one on net. Loose puck finally dug out along the far side and driven out to center ice. Vipers will get changes as they touch up. And fresh off the bench, this is Drulia. 10 seconds in the power play. He beats everybody, comes in, trying again to toe drag it to the backhand. Loose puck, Riendo still hasn't covered. In front to Tardik, glove save Riendo. Boy, Vincent Riendo has not been able to find the handle tonight and nearly cost him again.
He has not helped himself out at all, John. Got very, very fortunate there. He went down with the easy save to cover it, and then gave a great second opportunity to Tardif, able to reach back and find it. Earlier on the power play, we talked about Samsonov not being able to score recently, but it hasn't been because of poor play. He is still dominated. Two excellent scoring chances that Riendo looked sharp on.
Sergei Samsonov has not scored a goal in over 2 weeks. And coming up next Monday, he will leave the Vipers for an 8-game span in which he will go over to Switzerland and join the Russian junior team at the World Junior Championships. We'll take a closer look at Sergei Samsonov, the one they call Sammy, coming up in our first intermission. Hope you can stick around and join us for that. The penalty to Allison is over. Vipers with plenty of chances, but come up empty on the power play. And now are offside as they come back into the Manitoba zone. With Samsonov and Sean Thaler in this game here tonight, two of the top rookies in the IHL being showcased.
Very, very even. A telling statistic to me, though, plus minus. Not really fair to really compare them against, team against team, because team situations are so different. But Samsonov leads this veteran-laden Viper team in plus minus, so even when he's not scoring, he's doing all the little things well.
For what it's worth, only two players, current players on the Manitoba roster, are plus players coming into tonight, and only one of them has been with the club all season, Russ Romanek.
Right, and I think the plus-minus stat is only relevant when you compare it to your own teammates, not across the league.
Good point. 6 minutes to go, first period. Detroit 2, Manitoba 1. And Scott Arniel not getting much puck support in his own zone. It was taken away by Donnelly. Far side, Mongeau with good work on the wall. Can't come up with it, though, and Stevens shovels it back the other way. Flipped into the Detroit zone by Arneal, who spun around as he goes in after it. Carrot back to play it. Sends it around. Donnelly gets it ahead. Mongeau knocks it out of midair. Over comes Ward to get it. Through center ice, Ed Ward across the line, looking for somewhere to go with it. Drops it. The trailers. Donnelly, his snapshot steered to the corner. Arneal headmans it the other way, and back come the Moose. Through center ice, waving at it with the glove was Parrott. Stevens can't get to it. Out came Perron to poke it back up the other way. Peter McLaughlin again uses the glass, and around it comes. Getting the handle on it, Bobby J. Now Drulia drives it in around the dasher. A few weird bounces off the glass in the stanchion here in the early going at the Palace. McLaughlin throws it in front, and that deflected just wide off the stick of Drulia. And now flipped up into the crowd out of harm's way by the Moose, who will get a whistle the easy way. 2-1 Detroit.
You can tell which house has the Vicks NyQuil and which doesn't. Bob and Fred both came home coughing, sneezing, stuffy, aching all over. Bob's house had a cold medicine which only relieves his stuffiness and aching. While Fred's home had Vicks NyQuil. It relieves all his symptoms, his coughing, sneezing, stuffiness, and aching. So unlike Bob, Fred gets the rest he needs. That's the restful plus of Vicks NyQuil. It's the cold relief you want to come home to. Vicks NyQuil.
You can be a part of a golden moment. Adidas and Foot Locker present Face Off in Geneva. Win a trip for 2 to Geneva, Switzerland, and see Canada's best juniors go for a 5th consecutive World Championship. You'll fly on Air Canada, Team Canada's official airline, and stay 6 nights at the luxurious Hotel Giron. Plus, tickets to the games, a ski day at Chamonix, France, and much more, including $700 in spending money. To enter, visit any participating Foot Locker location between November 18th and December 11th, and fill out a ballot for your chance to face off in Geneva.
NFL Prime Time. All the action Sundays on TSN.
And as I understand it, the TSN viewers will be with us as well, as Savaglia scores right off the draw. And the wonder now has to be, will Vincent Riendo be with us very much longer?
He might grab a monitor at the end of the bench. Again, the importance of winning faceoffs in your own zone. Manitoba unable to do so. John Perron looking very perplexed here in the early going. Draw one cleanly by Savaglia. Riendo made the save, way out of position. Doesn't look like Vinny has much step in his game here right now.
Now Jeff Riccardi was on the doorstep as well. He fanned trying to clear it. By the time he turned around, Savaglia had potted it. It's 3-1. So far, I don't think the reaction Perron got is what he wanted. Now Samsonov 2-on-1 with Savaglia, and he just couldn't stick handle through Eric Dubois as he came to the slot. In a hurry the other way, Russ Romanek into the Detroit zone with a drop pass picked off by Samsonov, who came back. Good two-way play by the youngster there, and you can see why he's +12.
And he is the real deal, folks. If you haven't seen him before, his play without the puck has improved immensely in the first 28 games here this season.
He was deep in the zone that time and got all the way back. Now Simon with a rip. Kessel with the rebound, and it was just below the goal line. He couldn't pull it out and stuff it in, but a penalty coming up to Manitoba. And the Moose are running around in their zone on a regular basis, and lucky to be only down a pair, forced to take a penalty. Romanek will get the game.
You have to characterize that as a good penalty. Dan Kessa, big, strong man, off the right post, looking like he's going to jam it home. Can't corral it. Why? Romanek forced to hook him down.
It was Kessa who set up Simon, whose shot was the rebound Kessa was seeking. The leading Viper goal scorer, a original 5th-round pick of the Vancouver Canucks, Dan Kessa with 11 this season. A serious bid for his 12th there.
Manitoba perilously close to putting themselves in a tough situation here, trying to kill a penalty up, potentially to go down 4-1.
4 minutes to go in a first period that the Moose would like to get out of, no worse than down 3-1, and that's their predicament already. Simon thrown from the circle. Kessel will step in to take the draw. against Randy Gillen. The Moose have been particularly dangerous in shorthanded situations this season. 5 shorthanded goals in all in 28 games. 2 on the same penalty kill last night in Quebec in the first period.
5 different guys with shorthanded goals.
Randy Gillen had 1 of them last night. Here's Donnelly into the Manitoba zone, pulls up top of the right wing circle, sends it across. Shaw at the line, plays catches, they overload the left side with Simon, and now brings it to the middle. Donnelly, quick puck movement, finds Simon, back to Donnelly, shot it wide. Simon on the far boards, keeps it in, again for Donnelly, cutting in on his off wing, and he missed short side that time. Vipers moving it at will right now as Manitoba very static in the penalty kill. Shaw with a one-hopper that goes wide near side, and it's fired out by Chris Tock.
Make an excellent point. Manitoba very static on this penalty kill as they were on the first one. Could be a little bit tired, might be their style, but nowadays most teams are much more aggressive.
17 of the game's last 19 shots on goal have come off Detroit's sticks. Short-handed, Arneal rushing into the Detroit zone and overcame Simon with good support to take it away. Ahead for Donnelly, 45 seconds to go in the power play. Vipers wanting to finish a change as Donnelly's pass is broken up at center, and he now has to chase it all the way back into his own zone. Bobby J just spins away from the pressure of Scott McCrory and now moves it ahead at center. McCrory broke that up though. Jay throws it to center, waiting for the pressure, and getting it was Riccardi. Now he ices it. 20 seconds to go in the Detroit man advantage. Drulia drops it for Bobby J. On the left side, he finds Savaglia. Hit hard by Wilson on the far side. Loose puck deflected as Stevens tried to clear it. Came right across the slot. Samsonov keeps it in. Trying to get it back on the hash mark. A bouncing puck that he finally gets the handle on. Final seconds of Romanek's penalty now expire. He's out of the box. Both teams full strength. Detroit now 0 for 2 on the power play as Bobby J lets it go from the line. Kicked way out by Riendo between the circles. This time covered. And Romanek going to hurry across the Detroit line. Drop pass for Pankowitz, and his drive sticked away by Perron. To the line, Thiessen can't keep it in. Mongeau up with it. His pass picked off. Romanek brings it right back in. For Pankowitz, hauled down by Mongeau, and a penalty coming up to Detroit. With 1:33 to go in the opening period, Mongeau will go for hooking. Again along the lines of the penalty Romanek took moments ago, Darren. I think you have to categorize it as a pretty good penalty to take. Mongeau realized that if he let him get behind him, Pankowitz that is, he was in.
Return feed would have come to Pankowitz, and he would have been in all alone on Rich Perron. My, how it turns. The Vipers have a chance to build a 3-goal lead. Now they're forced at the end of the first period to protect a 2-goal lead.
And penalty killing has been one area where Steve Ludzik certainly feels there has been room for improvement this season on a hockey club that is 18-7-3 coming into tonight's action. The second best overall mark and point total in the entire IHL. However, it's only good for Detroit for second in their own division, as Orlando has owned the division and the league early on this season. Stevens in the corner. Manitoba 1 for 1 on the power play tonight, and it only took 19 seconds. That goal came from Chris Jensen. Behind the net, Shaw able to get it out as he uses the dasher to spin it around. Schneider sends it back in. Arneal on right wing for Manitoba. Feeds it to the slot. McCrory handles the pass now. Gives it back to Stevens. Went right through him. He was all alone at the far post. Schneider holds it in. Leans into one. Blocked all the way back to the Manitoba zone by Stan Drulia.
What a first period Stan Drulia has had.
45 seconds remain in that first period as Manitoba again rushes to the Detroit line, only to have the dump picked off by Simon, who ices it. Hey, look at a first period where he scored 3 goals, and you have to think there's a lot of stars out there. I don't think Todd Simon's figured in any of the goals, but I think he's played a strong period, particularly in the defensive zone.
We've mentioned it throughout the course of this early season. His play without the puck has been exceptional this year.
Robert Dirk slaps it back into the Manitoba zone. Time for one last Moose rush this period. Down to 15 seconds. Thiessen got it behind the net. Perrant spins it around. It'll come back to Dirk. He will send it to center, and that should do it for the period. Dubois waits for the mates to touch up, brings it back across. Thiessen spins it up the boards, and the horn will sound. The first period is complete. A slow start for Detroit, But a strong finish as Stan Drulia, feeling the effects of that last block, limping a bit as he heads off. But he'll have a few minutes to try to shake the effects of that last one. And the Vipers with a 2-goal lead after 20 minutes of play. Our score, Detroit 3, Manitoba 1. Coming up in our first intermission, we'll visit with veteran Viper blue liner Robert Dirk. That's coming up after this.
McCain Pizza Pockets are ready. Are you ready for a chance to win one of 100 Sony PlayStations, the world's hottest video game system, equipped with the awesome new action game Crash Bandicoot, or one of 500 Oasis CDs? Every time you buy your favorite tasting McCain Pizza Pockets with this special flash on the pack, check inside to see if you've won. It's your chance to win a Sony PlayStation with Crash Bandicoot or an Oasis CD. McCain Pizza Pockets are ready. Are you?
Whoa.
Hey, Annie.
Hi.
Love the hat.
Oh, I need it. My hair's a disaster. Look at my dandruff.
That's easy to take care of with the right shampoo. Here.
With ordinary shampoo, flakes can come back, but Head & Shoulders helps eliminate dandruff and stop flakes before they even start, so you may never see flakes again. And your hair.
My hair looks great. Thanks.
Don't forget your hat.
Who needs it?
Head & Shoulders, because great hair can't have flakes.
NCAA basketball, Massachusetts versus Wake Forest, TSN Saturday. Slalom, Super G, downhill, giant slalom. TSN's got it all. The world's best are on track and set to fly. Thursday, see women's Super G action from Val d'Isere here on TSN.
John Allers and Darren Elliott back at the Palace of Auburn Hills, where the Detroit Vipers enjoy a 3-1 lead over the Manitoba Moose after one period of play. And Darren, being the prophet that he was, said Detroit needed to get off to an early lead in this one. It didn't happen early on, and both goaltenders looked shaky, but Riendo had more to be shaky about as Detroit ended up with most of the shots.
Well, he ended up with 21 shots on goal. I don't think that his 18 save performance will fill Jean-Franc with any kind of confidence. He looks shaky in handling many of those chances.
Let's go downstairs where we're joined by veteran Viper blue liner Robert Dirk. And Robert, speaking of confidence, you get a goal from Stan Drulia that probably won't make the highlight film in the first period. He picks up an assist. Stan's been struggling a little bit getting those goals. I know you guys were probably happy to see him get that one. You think that's going to help boost his confidence?
For sure, Johnny. For the past 3-4 years, Stan's been the main man in Atlanta, and he does so many things well, but everybody looks at his stats, and right now he's having a little puck luck, but like I said, he's our captain, and so as he goes, we go. That's for sure.
Robert, talk about another stalwart. Losing Ian Herbert's back there, put a little more burden on the rest of the defensive corps?
Well, for sure. Herbie, he's a big man back there, and he's so rock solid all the time. But there's 5 of us back there, and we just got to pick up the slack while he's out. So, we're going to miss the big man while he's gone, but hopefully when he returns, he's going to be 100%, and he's going to be ready at the main time of the year, which is playoff time.
So much has been made of the character this hockey club has, Robert, you being one of the cornerstones of that. Many veterans on this Detroit roster. I think over 80% of the club has spent most of its career, if not part of their career, in the NHL. But I know one of the reasons that the team likes you is your intensity. One of the reasons you were brought on is because you don't like to lose. The other night, in a loss, eventually in a shootout to Las Vegas, you really took it pretty hard. You weren't that happy with your performance, and you took it out on an inanimate object. I know you've been taking a little guff about the water fountain that got the worst end of it.
Yeah, that's for sure, Johnny. Thanks for bringing that up. For sure. Any player would tell you they don't like losing, and I was real upset with the end result on Monday night. So unfortunately, when I went off the ice, there was something that I sort of glued onto, and for sure, for a brief moment in time, I lost control, and the water fountain took the brunt of it.
Allow me to say, though, briefly, that I know that while they really don't want to see you beat the building up too much, I know that's one of the reasons Rick Dudley and Steve Ludzik like you.
Oh, thanks, Johnny.
Returning to the ice here, is this the way the first period went? Getting that early lead, is that something that you guys thought you had to do here tonight?
Well, for sure. We're more concerned about, we feel we're playing really well, but right now the whole team seems to be snake bitten right now. and we can't get the puck in the net. Like, we're out shooting teams 2-1, 3-1 every night, and you know, we're either losing or winning 2-1, 3-2, which is uncharacteristic of this team with so many goal scorers. So right now it's a bit frustrating for the guys, but we know as puck luck goes, sometimes it's bad, but when it gets good, this team's going to be unbelievable.
We alluded to the absence of Ian Herbers for at least a week to maybe as much as 4 because of the surgery. He's a fine master on this team, Robert, and knowing you as I do, I expect you to step up and fill that role.
Well, my first fine was because of the water fountain incident. No fine, but I had to get this nice haircut for the boys.
Well, we expect to see more of the same out of you. Maybe the intensity will stay on the ice. We appreciate you taking the time to join us, Robert.
Thanks, guys. I just want to say to the fans, you two guys look so dapper up there. We're so lucky to have you guys as our announcers.
We appreciate that, and the envelope will be in your stall after the game. Okay. Robert Dirk, Viper defenseman, joining us here in our first intermission, where the Vipers have a 3-1 lead over the Manitoba Moose. Aaron and I will be back with more after this on the Viper Hockey Network.
Can you get all the beauty of a liquid, a powder, and a concealer in one makeup?
CoverGirl says yes, with Ultimate Finish Liquid Powder Makeup.
Like magic, it goes on weightlessly to cover and conceal where you need it, just like a liquid makeup and concealer, then transforms to the soft finish of a powder.
It's all you need, all in one, for the ultimate natural look. Ultimate Finish Liquid Powder Makeup. All you need, all in one. Only from CoverGirl.
What's with young players these days? Take Kevin Garnett.
I was out of my league.
I gotta help this guy. He was shaving with a foam. My word. Ed's Shave Gel has 6 lubricants. I knew the shave would be closer and more comfortable.
Nobody told me.
No. Front to back. Front to back.
Ed Shave Gel. Help save your skin.
I think it changed his life.
Catch the hottest act of the summer. Grab some airtime for the ride of your life. TSN's got the 1997 Extreme Games alternative action, late night Saturday on TSN.
Canada's best are spinning their wheels across the country for the 1996 Canadian Cycling Championships. Road racing, mountain bike, and velodrome track champions are crowned. Saturday on TSN.
Back at the Palace of Auburn Hills, where the Detroit Vipers lead the Manitoba Moose by a 3-1 count after 20 minutes of play. This season for the Vipers, the headline attraction at the Palace has been the youngest player on a veteran-laden team. Young Sergei Samsonov came to the IHL at the tender age of 17, has since turned 18, and will be eligible for the 1997 NHL draft. He has turned some heads in the eye this season, and we'll take a closer look now at the one they call Sammy. From the outset of the 1996-97 season, one thing has been very clear for the Detroit Vipers. Amid the numerous former NHLers on their roster, the headline act for this team would be the one future star on the team, the youngest player on the roster, a teenage phenom named Sergei Samsonov. Just 17 years of age when the season opened, Samsonov has been the focus of all Viper hype available, including print advertising, newspaper photo stories, and television advertisements, making an already difficult personal adjustment even more cumbersome.
It's my job, and I think the guys inside the dressing room, to make sure he feels very comfortable, very relaxed, and he's the guy that has to be allowed to play the way he wants to play. He has to play in the confines of a system, but he has to have the ability to create and be imaginative. That's what separates him from average players.
Scouts from all around the hockey world have converged on the IHL in order to take a look at this Russian native as he sets himself apart from the rest of the 97 eligible draft crop. While he has impressed them all, he has also found an admirer in one who can especially relate to his situation.
I kind of compare it, I guess, to when I started in the WHA when I was 18. And, you know, at first I didn't feel I should be there. I should have stayed in junior. My dad said, look, as long as you're playing against guys that are better than yourself, that's how you're going to learn, and that's how you're going to improve. And I think Sergei's proven, I mean, he's a better player now, and he's playing better two-way hockey than what he did at the beginning of the year.
At just 5'10", 180 pounds, Sergei's size and durability have been early question marks among the skeptics. But it didn't take him long to make believers of his teammate.
He's unbelievably strong in his skates, even in practice trying to defend against him. He uses his body well. He's not a big guy, but he's got great leverage and great strength, and he's a smart player. He's just got the entire package, and I don't see any flaws in his game. He's just got it all.
Indeed, he does have it all, including a language barrier, a cultural chasm, and all the life changes that any 18-year-old anywhere has to deal with, no matter the location or the dialect. But despite all the factors working against him, Sergei Samsonov has the attention of the hockey world, including those who have been to its pinnacle.
You can tell he's a great talent. He handles the puck very, very well. He's got great hands. He has great peripheral vision. He sees the ice very well. So, for his age playing in this league, he's something special.
Special indeed. Samsonov has led all IHL rookies in scoring through the first quarter of the season. He is at or near the top of nearly every rookie offensive category, including goals, assists, points, and plus-minus. In fact, he has been at or near the top of all of those categories among the Vipers as well, leaving only the long haul of a professional campaign as a yet unanswered question. But once again, his teammates are believers.
82 games is a long season in North America. It's a grind, so we'll learn a lot about him this year. But as far as the skill level, without question, that he has the talent to play. He's a good kid, too. He seems to know the game really well, which is, once you get to that level, I think, is as important as skill. You have to have the smarts to play. He seems to understand hockey.
To understand hockey completely, perhaps Sergei Samsonov may still have a ways to go, albeit not that far. But while he learns about life and pro hockey, he continues to enhance the Detroit Vipers of '96-97, something that's easy to understand. We're through one period of play at the Palace of Auburn Hills. We'll be back with more after this on the Viper Hockey Network.
Can you get all the beauty of a liquid, a powder, and a concealer in one makeup?
CoverGirl says yes, with Ultimate Finish Liquid Powder Makeup.
Like magic, it goes on weightlessly to cover and conceal where you need it, just like a liquid makeup and concealer, then transforms to the soft finish of a powder.
It's all you need, all in one, for the ultimate natural look. Ultimate Finish Liquid Powder Makeup. All you need, all in one. Only from CoverGirl.
Dynamics is a specialist in emergency transportation.
In some cases, we charter aircraft for our customers. It doesn't matter what it takes.
This business is fast now, and it's just going to get faster. Customer calls in, their account information is right there on the screen, and that happens within seconds. Without Advantage Total Data Solutions, our trucks would stop. 5 years from now, we'll be teleporting packages.
Advantage, providing solutions for business.
I thought you might be hungry. Happy holidays. Thanks, Dave. Happy holidays to you, too.
If you're working hard this holiday, you deserve a big, hearty meal, like Wendy's Smoky Bacon Cheeseburger Combo.
Thanks, Dave.
3 strips of hickory smoked bacon, processed smoked cheddar on a quarter-pound of fresh ground beef with sautéed onions, made when you order it, plus biggie fries and a drink. Come in for a Wendy's Smoky Bacon Cheeseburger Combo today.
Happy holidays, Dave.
What a nice way to say happy holidays.
From back rooms to boardrooms, from pastime to prime time. Hooked on Pool takes you on a refreshing tour of the current game. It's an opportunity to explore modern trends and current fashions, and a chance to unearth some hot spots and meet the best in the game. Special guests and expert advice. It's all part of the package. Dufferin's Hooked on Pool. Don't miss it.
Detroit enjoys a 3-1 lead after one period of play at the Palace of Auburn Hills over the Manitoba Moose, but that is not the way it began. The Moose struck first in this one. Chris Jensen with his 6th of the season. Romanek and Schneider with assists on the power play goal that took only 19 seconds. Manitoba had a 1-0 lead.
There's a couple of examples of this in this first period. It's not necessarily how hard you shoot it, but how quickly you get it away. Jensen shot off the pass, just found its way through Rich Perron.
Speaking of not necessarily a howitzer, Stan Drulia tied the game at 10:03 from Ward and Savaglia.
We commented during the period. Here's a good play on the half wall by Savaglia. A good little feed at the blue line by Ward. The rest is hard work by Drulia. And a wind chill factor of about 5 miles an hour blew that puck over the line.
The Vipers then grabbed their first lead of the hockey game on Patrice Tardif's 5th of the year. Ed Ward again with the helper. Phil Crow gets the other one. And Tardif gets this goal because he got it off quickly.
2 examples of winning faceoffs in the offensive zone leads to chances. One draw, beat Savaglia, knocks home the rebound.
That, of course, was not Tardif's goal. That was Savaglia's goal that made it 3-1 at 15-10. Drulia drawing the lone assist. And Detroit has a 2-goal lead. The number breakdown in the opening frame is going to show much what the big board at the Palace does, and that's a Detroit advantage. The faceoff's fairly even, but after Minnesota got 6 of the game's first 8 shots on goal, it was all Detroit.
Big disparity in power play shots on goal, leading directly to the overall disparity in the shots on goal. Quality chances, pretty proportionate. Faceoffs, as we talked about, Savaglia is a power play expert for the Vipers. Randy Gillen, the power play expert for the Manitoba Moose.
And our broadcast expert picked Bobby J as a feature in the open of our cast tonight. He was only +3 in the first period.
Off to a fine start, picking up the slack for his absence partner, Ian Herbers.
Thanks for joining us tonight on the television side. All season long, the radio side of the Viper Hockey Network can be found at 11:30 a.m. WDFN, the all-sports station in the Motor City.
You have to feel real happy for Bobby J after working so hard last year. As you know, John, you worked with him here in the booth, but his work was really in rehabilitation. And that can be a very, very trying experience. To return and be now the only defenseman on the Viper squad to appear in every game, a testament to his willpower.
Blew an ACL in training camp and was only out 4 months, was expected to perhaps be out as long as 6 months. I think the hardest part of all the hard work he put in last year was probably working with me in the broadcast booth.
Well, I wasn't going to say that, but secretly that's what he told me.
He did a whale of a job for us as well and is doing the same on the ice. One of only 4 Vipers to appear in all 29 games this season for this hockey club. And that a dose of irony that he is loving, you know that. And Stan Drulia, who limped off at the end of the first period after blocking a shot, is back out as the penalty kill continues. Detroit will be shorthanded for the first 27 seconds of the second period. And the face-off control by Detroit. Brad Shaw will back it into his own zone, find the opening, and rip it the length of the ice. Thiessen loses the handle right in the goal line. Drulia nearly shovels it on the backhand short side on Riendo. Talked about all the shorthanded goals Manitoba has scored. The Vipers made a bid for one there and then force an icing call that effectively will kill off the remainder of the penalty to Michel Mongeau. Now just 8 seconds left in that.
Stan Drulia continues his excellent play here tonight. Vinny Riendo, one of those goaltenders that plays the puck by turning his stick over, was unable to block that puck. Went into the corner. Drulia beat his man out of the corner to the front of the net. Almost scored a goal.
Thiessen, who was picked up after he was released by Indianapolis mid-season, has not been with this Manitoba club very long. In fact, just a total of 4 games prior to tonight. And again, as we alluded to there, in the middle of 4 and 5 nights, so that could mean if he's played 4 games, he's probably been with his club about 8 days. The penalty to Mongeau is over as the puck into the Detroit zone. Arneal and Dirk both take a swat at it. Finally, Simon gets the handle, turns away from McCrory. It bounces right back in front, but Arneal can't find the right hop. Kessa on the near side, just trying to use the boards to get it out. Didn't get it by Steve Wilson. Shaw comes back and reverses it all the way around. Simon knocks it down, and now ahead has Mongeau. Rink wide too far for Kessa. Wilson's pass broken up and turned by Dirk. Steve Wilson in the near corner feeds it up the wall. Detroit finishing defensive changes, and Arneal breaks out with McCrory. Across the line, McCrory down the middle, snaps one wide on the blocker side. Chris Tock with a long rebound shot that was deflected in front, and then Wilson's shot blocked by Bobby J. Fires it back wide short side as he got it back. Chris Tock at the left point keeps it in. Arneal in the corner, watched by Simon. Wants to cycle it low. Instead, Bobby J steps in front of it and sends it around. Kessa couldn't get a stick on it, but they'll wave the icing as it goes the length of the sheet. Riendo leaves it for his defense. Wilson headmans it at center. Checkett It was Allison, got it across the line, and stepping in on the backhand and taken out of the play was Randy Gillen as Perrant stepped out to make the save. Bobby J dumps it back in, bounces off the corner dasher to Riendo, who plays it for his defense. Detroit again finishing blue line changes. Outlet from Dubois, unable to be played by Allison. Would have been a two-line pass, but in failing to play it, McLaughlin able to run it down, and icing is the call. The veteran Randy Gillen, no stranger to the fans in Winnipeg, has been very much at home on the road this year.
Good road player. Line had a good shift here. Hankowitz mishandles it to Gillen. It ends up being a great pass around Drulia, but give Drulia credit. He stayed with Gillen, and Rich Perrant, with the first poke check I've ever seen him even attempt, was successful.
Perrant still considered a rookie by IHL standards, one of 3 on the Viper club right now, although he went the last 2.5 months with this club last year and saw a lot of action in the process.
All Rich does is win, baby, win. He is a little bit passive with the use of his stick, but he has good size. Has 30 wins against only 7 losses as a Viper.
Face-off control by McCrory in the Manitoba zone. Players strewn everywhere, but the Moose failed to clear as Thiessen had trouble coming up the boards. Donnelly forces it to be played near side, and Jensen circles out of the zone ahead with it. Off the stick of Romanek, it flutters into the Detroit zone. Drulia coming back for McLaughlin. Didn't get much on it. Donnelly drops it for the captain. Here's Drulia full stride into the zone. Leaves it on the far side. Savaglia walks between the circles, and it poked off his stick. And that'll go back out to center ice. Pete was just getting ready to pull the trigger. Brad Shaw now for Detroit just throws it to the open left wing as he didn't see anything, and that'll carry him off the boards and right on net. Wilson back to get it for the Moose. Forced by Ed Ward, threw it up the boards. Dangerous return pass came across the slot. Thiessen able to carry into the Detroit zone. Picked up as the body was played right there by Robert Dirk and flipped back out to center ice. Eric Dubois lifts it through center off the glove of Dirk, poked away by Romanek. Tripped up was Jensen as he came through the middle. Play continues. Dirk has it bounce off of him, and then Jensen gets it deep in the zone. Jeff Parrott back to get it. Weaving his way out of traffic on the right side, finds Patrice Tardif. Tardif across the Manitoba line. Felt the hit coming from Riccardi. Threw the puck to the far wing, held in there, and out of the slot Mongeau. It off the skate, but can't kick it up and pull the trigger after Parrott had kept it in. Big hit at center ice sends Arneal sprawling from who else? Ivan Korovo. Back come the Vipers. Tardif has Korovo heading to the net. Takes the shot, fired wide short side, and a penalty coming up to Manitoba as Korovo drew the ire of Arneal, and it'll be the retaliation that draws the time. Vipers on the power play when we come back.
Whether you're preparing turkey for a party of 60 or a family gathering of 6, it's got to be tender. That's why this chef insists on fresh Maple Leaf Prime turkey for his family. Always tender, always good. Grain-fed, fresh, and uniquely prepared to Maple Leaf's highest standards. It's our most tender, best-tasting turkey, and good value too, which makes Maple Leaf Prime brand turkey the perfect choice for any occasion. Maple Leaf Prime, great turkey every time.
Ike's been silent here tonight, but since returning to the lineup, been a force on the forecheck. This is what he does best. Lays the body on the opposition. Scott Arneal, thinking this is flag hockey, took exception to it. Took a swipe at Ike. Retaliation usually puts you in the box.
Ivan Korovo's been back for 7 games, has 3 goals, and as a result of his hit, the Vipers have their 3rd power play. 0 for 2 on the night as Detroit with the extra man. Samsonov working on the near side, does a nice job to keep the puck in. Backhands it ahead for Savaglia. Will use the dasher to send it around. Right point, Simon steps up, and now an interference penalty. Now they're going to call a hook on Michel Mongeau. Will nullify the remainder of the Detroit power play just 25 seconds after it began. Boy, McCrory and Riccardi, along with Savaglia and Samsonov, staring one another down there, and you won't see that very often. Savaglia and Samsonov pretty much stay out of it. Between them this season, they have a combined 12 minutes. That's because Savaglia has 12 minutes.
And McCrory not one to mix it up necessarily, but Riccardi, on the other hand, could probably take all three of those guys with one arm.
The Mongeau's penalty will send us to the first 4-on-4 situation of the hockey game tonight. Got the stick on Romanuk, and
Sniper got him.
Yeah. Either way, it evens things at 4, and Savaglia right off the draw, carrying into the Manitoba zone, just barely had it poked off his stick by Andy Schneider. He almost walked right in from the blue line. Now he frees it up for Drulia, sends it left point. Dirk keeps it in. 4-on-4 for another minute 20. As Drulia down low battles with Riccardi. Stan brings it to the corner, has puck support from Savaglia, now circles out of the corner with it, goes all the way across the top of the zone. Trying to turn the corner on Schneider, again goes in behind the net. Stan comes right around, tries to wrap it, and that was poked off his stick as Dubois stepped out. Savaglia comes over to get it, now circles high on the backhand between the circles. Top of the circle, takes it far side. Riccardi knocks it away, now Pete turns and gives it to Shaw. From his drive deflected wide of the mark, parked in front was Drulia. Loose puck on the board. Simon comes up with it as he's fresh off the Detroit bench. In front for Dirk, he stole it wide. Robert Dirk all alone in front, just trying to steer it on, but he missed the net. Dubois along the back wall, battling with Simon, and Detroit right now getting to all the loose pucks. Donnelly tried to give it back to Simon, now reaches out and does find him. Simon sends it across. Bobby J steps up on the right side, rolls it across the crease, and Donnelly was just below the goal line, couldn't get to it. Dubois able to finally clear to center. Bobby J rushes back the other way. Here's Gillen on the backhand, and that deflected wide as Parrott was picking him up from behind. Bobby J in front of his own net gets the feed from Donnelly. He's got some open ice. 4-on-4 for another 8 seconds. Wilson at center sends it into the Detroit zone. Parrott turns and just drives it right on the blade of Simon. The penalty is over to Arneal, and Donnelly at center, realizing that, just gets it in deep, and the Vipers will get changing. The short-lived Manitoba power play has only 15 seconds left in it as it's sent to center. Dirk broke it up there, lost the handle, and it's sent back in by Jensen. Shaw gets to the carom, rifles it to the line, held in there by Thiessen, pinching off the left point. Shaw to the corner, squirts it free, teed up by Stevens, and the save made by Perron. Rebound comes all the way out far side, and Kessa just pushes it to center. Out of the box, Mongeau, and both teams are full strength. There's a delayed offside being waited upon, and now as the Vipers bring it out, they'll wave it off. Shaw plays it in off the stick of Crow. Riendo throws it to the high glass in the corner. And now chopped the length of the ice by Romanuk. Bobby J back after it. Will get there, and icing is the call. The Burlington, Massachusetts native Bobby J played his college hockey at Merrimack, where he is still the 9th all-time leading scorer amongst defensemen, and I know that because he was looking at the media guide today. And as players will do, looking for his name, and he found it. Member of a couple great teams at Merrimack that ended up in the NCAA tournament at one point in time. Coming up on Sunday here at the Palace, speaking of the Boston area, it'll be the Celtics and the Pistons, and the first 5,000 fans will receive a Fleer card pack, compliments of Fleer.
Todd Simon, known as a playmaker, a beautiful feed to Robert Dirk. Dirk, he did the right thing, shot it right away. The only thing is he dumped it in. He missed the 4x6.
Giving his head a shake as he watches on the big board. Ward off the draw, fires it just wide for the far post. Vipers have had good success right off face-offs, getting shots on goal, getting goals, and getting plays set. Back comes Arneal into the Detroit zone. Side of the net, Ferrant sends it around. Stevens trying to give it to McCrory behind the net, but Tardif picked it off, and now a penalty for holding coming up on rookie Pete McLaughlin. The Vipers will be down a man when we return. They're up 2.
Hi.
Love the hat.
Oh, I need it. My hair's a disaster. Look at my dandruff.
That's easy to take care of with the right shampoo. Here.
With ordinary shampoo, flakes can come back, but Head & Shoulders helps eliminate dandruff and stop flakes before they even start, so you may never see flakes again. And your hair.
My hair looks great. Thanks.
Don't forget your hat.
Who needs it?
Head & Shoulders, because great hair can't have flakes.
You want to talk about the web? Let's talk about Jack Webb.
You want to tell us a little more about that?
Let's talk about security on the web. You know there are over 50 million people on the web? And they're not all nice.
Liars, cheats,
hackers, snoops,
con men.
Your competition.
What's your point?
You want to keep the bad guys out, but you want to let the good guys in, right?
You got it all worked out.
Not me personally, but some software guys.
Let's have the names, son.
Vipers go shorthanded as Peter McLaughlin is called for holding. Some might call it a rookie mistake, but there's very few rookie mistakes on this Viper squad. In fact, 80% of this Detroit roster has spent time in the NHL. Only 4 have not, and 3 are considered rookies. McLaughlin is fresh out of Harvard. Rich Perrant has a couple of years in the Colonial League, but is still an IHL rookie. And, of course, Sergei Samsonov, not yet even eligible to play in the NHL, is the other. Jeff Parrott, the only player who is not considered a rookie amongst the non-NHL experienced on this Detroit club. Hilaire into the Detroit zone. Speaking of rookies, and his drive deflected away by Perrant, and then high in the air swatted to the line. Schneider keeps it in. Hilaire off the right wing board, snaps one, blocked by Dirk, and the carry back to Stan Drulia, who takes his time, picks his spot, and ices the puck.
Everybody aspires to the National Hockey League. We can be reasonably assured that Sergei Samsonov will end up there probably as early as next season.
Pass at center, broken up by Simon, who drops it back. And just off the stick of Romanek, able to clear was Parrott. Vipers shorthanded. Simon into the Manitoba zone, has Kessa going to the net, comes into the backhand. Score! Riendo stabbed at it with the glove, but he ended up in the net as well. It's 4-1.
Todd Simon has been heating up as of late. We just saw him on the playmaking side of his skills. This time we saw him take it hard to the goal. His 10th goal of 28 points. Excellent job. Shorthanded situation.
Well, actually, his arm, Riendo's, I stand corrected. Riendo's arm just went up as he threw the leg out at it.
Right, his arm went up as if he was calling offside, like a linesman. Key to this play as well. See, I believe it's Dan Kessa going hard to the goal, causing all kinds of confusion for Riendo. Those are the kinds of goals Rick Dudley and Steve Ludzik were hoping for the Vipers to get here tonight.
10th of the year for Simon. He has 5 on the power play this year and leads the Vipers in that category, but that's Detroit's 4th shorthanded goal of the season. And it's 4-1 as Parrott turns in the Detroit end and rockets it out. Still 40 seconds to go on the penalty to McLaughlin.
That's his 10th of the year. Assisted by number 25,
Dan Kessel will pick up the assist. As Manitoba tries to make something of the remaining half minute of their power play. Dubois, an errant pass collected by Travis Thiessen. Thiessen rink wide out of his own zone, back to Dubois. Bothered by Drulia. Gets puck support at center for McCrory. Across the line, drop pass back to Thiessen. Long shot didn't get through as Dirk blocked that. Bradshaw uses the boards to clear, and that'll do it for the power play. McLaughlin standing in the Detroit box will re-enter the play, and both teams are full strength. After scoring on their first power play, Manitoba's come up empty on their next 3. The Vipers right back into the Manitoba zone. Donnelly to the point for Shaw, does a nice job to keep it in, throws it off of Savaglia down low. Riccardi and Drulia battle for it there. Over comes Donnelly to dig it out right in front. Savaglia scores! Beautiful feed from Drulia. It's 5-1. The entire play was made below the goal line. Savaglia just went to the front of the net. And we're going to see Freddie Brathwaite.
Riendo can't wait to get to the bench. He's beating a path to that end. He hasn't looked sharp, and he hasn't been sharp, and the Vipers have put it on him first half of this hockey game.
So Riendo's night will end at the 9:22 mark of the second period. And Fred Brathwaite, who played his junior hockey here in Detroit, was a member of the Detroit Junior Wings. Last year spent some time in Las Vegas, or eventually ending up in Edmonton. Will spell Riendo. Not much Vince could do about this one. Good work down low between Donnelly and Drulia. And Savaglia has his second of the night.
You've heard the term tic-tac-toe so many times describe a play. That was textbook tic-tac-toe.
Say that 3 times fast.
I could barely say it at that speed.
Drulia and Savaglia each already with 3-point nights now. As the Vipers are right back in, and a nice kick save made by Brathwaite on Kessa's low wrist shot. That thing was labeled for the inside of the near post. 5-1 Detroit. We are just about to reach the halfway mark of the hockey game. And we talked about it way back in the first period when the Vipers got the quick 2-1 lead after going down 1-0. How would Manitoba react? So far, it hasn't been favorable if you are a Moose supporter. Kessa brings it back in, tries to move it in front for Corriveau, just deflected away by Scott Allison. Corriveau using his body as a shield, now taken to the corner by Allison. Keeps the puck alive. Chris Talk over to spin it away from the forecheck. Simon gives chase. And Riccardi rockets it up the glass the length of the ice. This will be an icing call as Bobby J is back to touch up. Robert Dirk having a little fun with us during the first intermission. Did mention, though, that the Vipers hadn't been getting their money's worth out of their shots of late. Brathwaite, who was in goal last night in the win at Quebec, probably was thinking he'd rather have a night off. Just 5'7", Fred Brathwaite, 170 pounds. This is now his 16th appearance of the season.
In all fairness to both Riendo and Brathwaite, this has been typical. They've given up a ton of quality chances. They've kept their team in a lot of games, and on the Vipers side of things, this is how it's been going for them, getting a ton of great scoring chances. The puck is going in the net here tonight.
Yeah, I was going to say, with the exception of the scoring part, I started to allude to that. Robert Dirk mentioned it to us in our first intermission interview that the team had been getting a lot of chances, outshooting teams 2 and 3 to 1, and yet not doing any scoring. Well, it does come in bunches, and tonight the scoring has come, and Vince Riendo has gone as a result. 5-1 Detroit, play in the Manitoba zone. Tardif finds a man in the slot. Mongeau, his shot turned away by Brathwaite. Now a little hitting begins as Ward and Romanek battle behind the net. Play goes on, and again high in the slot. Left alone was Mongeau. Romanek and Ward continue to bump one another, and Russ Romanek finally able to push it out to center ice. Those two played against one another in college. Romanek at North Dakota and Ward at Northern Michigan. Seem to be renewing a bit of a rivalry there. Bad bounce off of Stanchion, keeps the puck in the Detroit zone. Andy Snyder's pass, though, easily handled away by Parrott. Nice pass at center. Savaglia got it to Drulia. In with a drive, save. Brathwaite, and the rebound sent to the wall by Riccardi. Savaglia cycling high, keeps it alive. After it goes Samsonov. Battling down low with Wilson, digs it out from under him. Samsonov in front, backhander, got his own rebound, and then was dumped out of the play by Wilson, who did a good job to come back.
Brathwaite's been extremely sharper in the first 3 minutes of this game.
He's had no choice. I think it's safe to say he's broken a sweat by now. He's been in the game all of 2.5 minutes. I think he's been credited with 5 saves already. Again, the Moose failed to clear on an errant pass intended for Dubois. Donnelly in hard. He's the only one in, and finally McCrory headmans it the other way for Mike Stevens. Into the Detroit zone, snapshot, stick saved by Perron. Rebound, Stevens got to it, and that one steered to the back wall by Perron. McCrory feeds it in front. Across the side of the net, bounces over the top of the net as Dirk came back to get a piece of it. Boy, Perron got caught cheating across his crease that time and got away with it. Donnelly back the other way for Kessa, tries to shovel it down. Now Simon in front, but that's broken up, and Brathwaite will hold on to it. One of the few bright spots for the Moose tonight has been Fred Brathwaite. They're down a bunch.
This sports break is brought to you by Labatt Blue, true Canadian lager.
Hi, everyone. Brendan Connor in the TSN newsroom. We're getting ready for our next sports desk comes up. Michael Landsberg will join me at 11 o'clock. We'll go through all the hockey highlights for you from 7 games tonight. And among the games we're watching, the 2 best teams in the East right now, the Panthers and, yes, the Hartford Whalers. And Jason Muzzatti starting for the injured Sean Burke. And he proves the Whalers have not missed a beat with him in net. Radek Dvorak and Bill Lindsay bust in 2-on-1. Dvorak to Lindsay and a toe save by Muzzatti. Second period. That combination gets another chance. Dvorak with the shot.
Bill Lindsay with his 6th goal of the season.
And Lindsay will gobble up a rebound and sweep it in past Muzzatti. 1-0 Florida. At that point, it is now 2-0 Florida. Dave Lowry has added a goal for the Florida Panthers as well. Also, the Montreal Canadiens trailing Buffalo by a score of 2-1 in the second.
From time to time gets caught cheating. Plays that V style, looking for the pass before the shot. This is one such instance. He was already moving laterally. It almost cost him. Got the lucky bounce here tonight, up over the top of the crossbar. No harm, no foul.
I give that save to Robert Dirk. Off the draw, Ed Ward for Detroit. Gives it to Tardif, who sends it down low. Dubois has pressure. It's from Phil Crow. They both go down. Allison comes over, picked up by Ward. He rifles it up the boards. Again, an icing call forthcoming on Manitoba as Pete McLaughlin is back to touch up. This is probably a real good situation for Peter McLaughlin, the rookie defenseman. The Vipers almost had to go with 5 tonight because of the question of whether or not Brad Shaw would be able to play. But he's seeing more and more ice time as the game goes along. A rookie out of Harvard earlier this season, in fact, just 10 days ago, was recalled from Flint to the Colonial League for a Sunday day game against Houston, a noon start here at the Palace. After the Vipers lost 4-2 to the Arrows, he got an I-75 and went the 40 miles north to Flint and then played in the Generals Colonial League game that night.
Doubleheader. Don't see it happen too often in hockey.
You can tell he's a rookie because all he said to me about it was, didn't say whether they won both games, won either game, or whether he got any points. He said, yeah, I got 2 paychecks that day. And now some brandishing of sticks side of the net as Ward continues to tangle with Scott Allison. Ed Ward, who has missed the last 3 games with, you can see a little bit of sewing above the left eye there, as well as a bruised left knee, coming back with a vengeance. The Calgary property, who spent 41 games with the Flames last year, and Allison, I think, are both going to get a seat here.
Look for them to go. When the score gets lopsided, the heavyweights sometime take over because of frustration. I would have liked to see those 2 guys go.
Well, that particular line for Detroit that time was Ward, Crow, and Tardif. Not a small line, and they had their chances, including this one by Pat Tardif.
Good aggressive poke check attempt by Brathwaite. Able to freeze that puck on the outside of the post on the wraparound attempt.
Interestingly enough, Brathwaite came over this season from Las Vegas in a trade that included Jeff Riccardi for the rights to former Detroit Viper Sandy Smith, who is playing in Europe. And the Las Vegas Thunder obviously either want to take a stab at Sandy Smith at the end of this season or felt that they could do without Riccardi and Brathwaite, as Ward and Allison each get 2 for roughing.
We're watching those 2 a little bit later on. If they meet once again down low.
And I know you and the Union will love this about Brathwaite. Scored a goal earlier this year.
Well, it's one of those tainted ones. He was credited with a goal. Didn't actually shoot the puck in the open goal.
Yeah, but I noticed it not necessarily in the stats looking at Manitoba's numbers today, but I was looking at the plus minus and I saw a goaltender that was a plus, and I said, what's that all about? And then I recalled that he was credited with a goal earlier this year.
The only way a goalie can get a plus.
Play into the Detroit zone, 4-on-4 for the second time. Pankowitz in the corner shovels it low. Dirk knocks it away from Randy Gillen there. Samsonov cycling ahead for Savaglia, and a bouncing puck that just eludes him at center. The race is on now. Chris Talk has him lined up as he gets to it. Tried to poke it to the slot. Samsonov was sealed off on the play by Wilson, and the 2 of them go after it. Randy Gillen back to get it. Circling up the left side, hurries to center. Off off of Brad Shaw. He'll play it back to McLaughlin. Quick puck movement finds Samsonoff back to McLaughlin. Ahead of the line for Simon. McLaughlin goes to the net. Simon takes the shot over top of the net. As out was Brathwaite to challenge. Shaw keeps it in. Now off the right side. Simon for Samsonoff. Samsonoff circles high in the zone. Now comes down the slot. Leaves it at the point. McLaughlin shovels it across to Shaw between the circles. This is Samsonoff. Beat one man. Sent it across. And fanning on it was Simon. He had an empty net to shoot at. McLaughlin at the point. Feeds it back up the board. Simon after it there. Wilson leans on him. 35 seconds in the 4-on-4. Simon beats Wilson. Now sets up behind the net. Fed it in front. Kessa's shot blocked by Wilson. Vipers have controlled the zone and made changes at the same time. And now will force a Manitoba icing call. Shaw back to get it. This has been a truly dominant period for Detroit. And it shows on the board. The Vipers up by 4.
Hey, Annie.
Hi.
Love the hat.
Oh, I need it. My hair's a disaster. Look at my dandruff.
That's easy to take care of with the right shampoo. Here.
With ordinary shampoo, flakes can come back, but Head & Shoulders helps eliminate dandruff and stop flakes before they even start, so you may never see flakes again. And your hair.
My hair looks great. Thanks.
Don't forget your hat.
Who needs it?
Head & Shoulders, because great hair can't have flakes.
Completely dominant 4-on-4 shift. Samsonov zipped that pass over to Simon, who just couldn't connect. They controlled that zone for a good minute. As you said, even were able to make changes.
Vipers with now that proverbial 2-to-1 shot advantage that Robert Dirk talked about in our first intermission. But more importantly, a 5-1 lead on the big board. Still 4-on-4 for another 10 seconds as Donnelly works the left wing board. Now heads to the corner as Drulia goes to the front of the net. They'll cycle now on the right side. Or check at the left side, my other right. And oh boy, nice slash in the general direction of Mike Donnelly. And I think that was Eric. Was it Dubois or was it Allison who? And now you were right. Here we go. Ward and Allison are going to go. And it looked like Allison got the initial right in. And Ward now trying to recollect himself. The fear here for Ed Ward is that he got tagged on that left eye again and may have reopened the cut. And he is very unhappy with Mr. Allison as the linesman may be ill-advised or trying to intervene here. Well, Ed Ward very upset with Scott Allison, and I think he may be thinking that he got suckered to begin the fight.
The code of conduct was not followed amongst the big men there by Allison. He didn't square up and say, let's go. He jumped him, gave him that first punch. That's why you saw Ed Ward react the way he did.
Allison, along with Ward, will go to the locker room early as 4:34 remains here in the second. They'll each at least get 5. And now we'll see how Al Kimmel sees it.
Well, I think he had the play whistle down high in the slot before that fight broke out. Be interesting to see all the stick work that was going on with Donnelly in a crowd, what that nets.
I think he had coincidentals. Donnelly and Dubois, I think it was, at first started brandishing sticks. Again, it was away from the puck, and I somewhat speculating on the Manitoba player, but then away from it, Allison and Ward were able to square off.
So we had...
it was Arneal, excuse me.
Vipers had control of the puck. I think the retaliation by Riccardi evened that up, because I think the original call was on Donnelly on Arneal, and then Riccardi came in and took exception to Donnelly swinging his stick.
Well, you can see a very frustrated Ed Ward trying to get over the officials to get to him, and now Arneal and Drulli are talking about this one. So they've given Riccardi the other minor penalty here. In the meantime, a reminder that the Pistons will be at the Palace this Sunday to take on the Boston Celtics, and again next Wednesday, December the 18th, as the New York Knicks come calling. Get your seats by calling the Hoops hotline, 810-377-8200, or stop by the Palace box office.
How about them Pistons?
16-3, I believe it is now.
You know, it's funny how people react. They want to believe how good this team is, and you start hearing things like, well, they're only winning because they're working hard. Things like trying to discredit that their fast start.
Isn't that awful when that happens?
Yeah, what
an old work ethic.
What a terrific start for the Pistons.
Well, we have coincidental minors on the board for Riccardi and Donnelly, I believe, for slashing. Scott Arneal, I think, has to right now have a mask on because he didn't get any penalty time, and now they've taken the penalty time down off on the Manitoba side. Our replays clearly showed Arneal getting his lumberyard ready for the winner for his fireplace. Donnelly did retaliate, and now they've taken those penalties completely off the board.
Manitoba penalty on number 29.
And it remains.
2 minutes for slashing. Time that penalty, 15-26.
This makes no sense at all. It's 5-on-5 out there right now, and they've given each of the Riccardi and Donnelly slashing penalties, then the fighting penalties to Allison and Ward. While we try to figure it out, McCrory throws a shot on net that Perron easily sweeps away. Dubois steps up off the point, had his shot blocked by Corriveau. And maybe more importantly for Dubois, he avoided the check of Ike. And the puck all from Corriveau all the way back into the Manitoba zone. Now, I'll have to have somebody explain that one to me at a later date. Coincidental minors that do not affect the number of players on the ice surface as the puck is deflected out of play.
How come nobody on the ice seems more baffled than we are about this? I mean, they started out with...
They've had longer to deal with it. We just now heard about it. We watched it all. Ward and Allison each picking up 10-minute misconducts as well. There's no way, though, that he can be ruling that the slashing calls came after the altercation. They were the initial reason for the whistle and the stoppage of play. You and I will have to remain perplexed as the play continues at center ice. Whistle down with 3.5 to go. And now perhaps a penalty call we'll be able to figure out. Well, no, it's just a puck played by a high stick, excuse me.
As I described, Crow comes off on this particular play, but Donnelly may have been whistled for the slash on Arneal. Arneal gets away scot-free, and Riccardi comes in later. It's the only thing that makes sense to me.
I'll buy that.
Okay.
And now it is a high-sticking penalty on Phil Crow.
I bet you this results in a power play for Manitoba.
You think this will affect the manpower situation on the ice? That's what I like about you when it comes to gambling your gutty. The Moose with a much-needed power play. 3.5 to go in the period if they harbor hopes of coming back in this one. Right now, a power play goal here would be very advantageous. Get it to the locker room only down 3, and really, despite being dominated this period, they would only be a goal further down than they were coming into it. So everything being relative, that would be positive, but the Moose would have to score on this power play to get that particular situation. 1.5 to go, and Crow's penalty. Puck at center. Russ Romanuk loses the handle. It's gloved back in by Dubois, but Dirk able to clear. And Travis Thiessen back to get it. For Thaler, and back to Thiessen, broken up at the line by Mongeau, but trailing the play, Romanuk brings it in. High slot drop pass picked off by Bobby J. Tried to start a breakout, but Wilson picks it off and sends it back in. Parrott will just send it hard up the boards. It caroms right to Todd Simon. Simon carries it in. He already has a shorthanded goal this evening, and now rags it all the way back to the line, where Parrott will again pick his spot and golf at the length of the ice. 45 seconds left in the Manitoba power play. Snyder almost gave it away to Simon in the slot. He just didn't know where it was after knocking it down. Wilson ahead for Mike Stevens. Converged upon by Mongeau, and Bobby J got it across the line for Tolaire. Tries to shovel it back, went right through McCrory. And it's iced by Mongeau. Brathwaite out to play it in the corner. Inside 2 to go in the second. Schneider will take it behind his own net. 15 seconds remains in the penalty to Crow. McCrory ahead at center. Weaving on the right side, plays it off the boards. Delayed offside is waved as Savaglia ices the puck. And the penalty to Crow winding down now, the final seconds, as he gets set to rejoin the play, and both teams are full strength.
All facets of the Vipers game clicking on all cylinders here in the second period.
Drulia with a poke check that would have been a breakaway, but he didn't have his stick anymore, and Brathwaite just covered it up. The Vipers will be home here at the Palace quite a bit in the upcoming weeks as well, including next Tuesday here against the Fort Wayne Comets. Then on the 20th, it'll be the Kansas City Blades in Detroit. And on December 22nd, your last peek at the Vipers before the holiday, it's the Michigan K-Wings. You can get your tickets by calling 810-377-0100 or stopping by the Palace box office or any Ticketmaster locale.
Stan Drulia has had an excellent game here. He's been relentless on the forecheck. So aggressive that he even lost his stick on that particular play.
Putting the poke back in poke check. Face off to the right of Fred Brathwaite. He spelled Vincent Riendo midway through the second period. Loader and Simon took it. Simon now with it on the near side, trying to spin away from Loader. Can't stick handle around him, so Samsonov will come over and get it. Tries to come in front and stuff it, and Brathwaite with the save. Boy, there's that great skating ability, and the ability, I know it's a cliche, but to turn on a dime of Sergei Samsonov. I think everybody in the building was convinced he was going behind the net with that puck, and the next thing you know, boom, he's right in front.
So much to be impressed by with Sergei Samsonov. One of the things is his ability to make plays in traffic, in tight spaces. As you said, laterally, he can skate like few others.
He's out there with Simon and Corriveau right now. Face off again to the right of Brathwaite. And Loader wins the draw again. Behind the net, Riccardi sends it ahead, and Tolaire backhands it off the dasher out of harm's way. Less than a minute to go, second period, as Simon feeds Samsonov, and now back in the Detroit zone. Dirk feeds it up the wall. Picked off by Dubois. He fires it in. Overcomes Shaw to knock that away and take it behind his own net. Ahead, Simon. Nice little feather pass. Finds Samsonov. Got it to the line, but broken up there. Chris Jensen in a little bit of trouble at his own blue line. Gave it to Dubois. He got the red line and flutters it into the Detroit, and Manitoba wants to finish a change. Shaw finds the open ice. Still being bothered by Tolaire, plays it away. 25 seconds to go, second period. Samsonov from Dirk, ahead now for Donnelly, has a man with him, fires it wide of the mark. Mongeau was charging hard to the net. Tolaire comes back and backhands it all the way into the Detroit zone. Rich Parado has not been very busy here in the second period, plays it away. Errant pass misses Mongeau. He tries to kick it into the zone. 5 seconds now left in the period. Snyder knocked out of the play by Donnelly, and that'll do it. The second period has come to a close. The Vipers storm the Manitoba zone in the middle period and now have a commanding 4-goal lead as they head to the locker room after 2 periods of play. Coming up in our second intermission, a longtime veteran and Manitoba captain, Randy Gillen, will join us. And Jean Perron has to find some sort of tonic or some sort of reason for his club to get up for the third period of play. They got a pretty steep hill to climb. The Viper lead is 4, Detroit 5, Manitoba 1 after 2 at the Palace of Auburn Hills. Back after this. (5-1) Detroit has the lead over the Manitoba Moose after 2 periods of play at the Palace of Auburn Hills. John Allers alongside my broadcast partner, former Canadian Olympian, Darren Elliott. And Darren, the Vipers have had problems scoring goals of late. This is so often the way it goes. You go 3-4 games, you can't buy one, suddenly everything starts going in. Nobody knows better than Vince Riendo.
Well, I think you talked about it, feast or famine for the Vipers. Sometimes it's feast or famine for the goaltender. We talked about both Brathwaite and Riendo playing very well this season. Sometimes the dam is going to break, and it burst here tonight for Riendo.
Oftentimes goes unnoticed as well. Brathwaite came in midway through the period, played outstanding, particularly in the first couple of minutes. Otherwise, this thing's worse than it is for Manitoba.
Well, it's still a blowout, but it could have been an embarrassment.
Yeah, the Vipers, have had trouble scoring goals until tonight, but we're joined now by a gentleman who's had no problem scoring goals of late. Randy Gillen joins us downstairs, the center and captain of the Manitoba Moose. And I know the guys were joking with you before tonight's game, Randy, about you're usually out there to check all the scoring centers. Now they got to send somebody to check you. It's been going in for you lately, hasn't it?
Well, I've just been fortunate enough lately to have some breaks and get some bounces around the net. I think you know, the guys I'm playing with have created lots of chances lately, Greg Penkowitz and Scott Allison, and you know, they're both aggressive guys that forecheck hard, and I've just been fortunate to be in the right place at the right time and been able to bury my chances.
Randy, you've always been a hard worker, characterized as a good face-off man. I talked to Jean Perron before the game. He said when he was putting this team together, he wanted a team that works hard. Does that fit with you, what Jean Perron's put together here?
Well, I don't think you'd know that by the results tonight. I think obviously the Vipers are outworking us, and the score shows that right now. But you know, that's the type of team we have. We don't have a lot of superstars, so to speak, and offensive players. We have a team that has to try to go out there and play hard and grind it out, and have to try to play a defensive game and wait for our bounces. So that's definitely the type of team that he's tried to put together. And you know, it would be nice to have some more offensive players, but we don't have that right now, and that's just the way we're going to have to win games.
Randy, you talk about no superstars on this club. In building a team, especially an IHL team coming to what had been an NHL city, one of the knocks early on against this club has been no marquee players, no superstars, but you are the marquee recognizable player for this franchise, at least thus far. Are you comfortable with that role?
Well, I think, you know, obviously it's a hard role. I've never been a great offensive player or anything like that, as we talked about earlier, but you know, I was a player that played in Winnipeg for a few years, and I think it's something the fans maybe recognize, and it's nice and there's some pressure, but as you said, we're trying to build our team, and those things are going to come. We have Russ Romanuk, who's a Winnipeg guy and a Winnipeg ex-Jet too, who was hurt at the beginning of the year, and that hurt us a little bit, and he's now come out and played some great hockey for us. And they've got a young kid, Sean Talaire, who's also a local product, who's come in and played very well. So, you know, at the start, I'd say maybe that was true, but I think the play of those guys has really taken some of the pressure off as far as the local status goes, and it's really helped that those guys have come. And you know, the one thing about our team, as you said, although it is transplanted from Minnesota, it is basically an expansion team. We don't have a lot of the players that are left, and it takes time to build a winning team, as everybody knows, and people are just going to have to bear with us. And as I said earlier, we're going to have to work hard, and that's the way we're going to have to win games.
Randy, on a personal note, is it nice to have the opportunity to, you know, put the tail end of your career together, so to speak, in a market and in your hometown?
Well, there's no question. I think one of the things I said when I was traded to Winnipeg, you know, 3 years ago or 3.5 years ago was it was going to be nice to come home and hopefully finish my NHL career in Winnipeg. And as everybody knows, the franchise picked up and moved to Phoenix, and it was probably going to be my last year at the NHL level. And you know, for the IHL team to kind of fall, everything just fell into place, and it gave me a chance to play a few more years and play in my hometown and make a good living and do what I love, and that's play hockey. And you know, the circumstances couldn't have fit in any better.
Randy, you played in Winnipeg when obviously it was an NHL city. Now you play there as an IHL city. You guys just were in Quebec last night. You're playing them a lot this season. I know the IHL was hoping to be welcomed with open arms in Canada. Quebec seems to be drawing well. You guys are drawing well as well. But on the surface, maybe go a little bit deeper. Do you feel the IHL is being welcomed in Winnipeg?
Well, I think it's tough right now. I think the one thing that Quebec has over Winnipeg is Quebec had that year off to let their wounds heal, so to speak, and the people in Winnipeg, it's really been tough on them to come in, and you know, they lose their NHL franchise, which is another story in itself, and then to have us come right in. And I think the comparisons have been tough, and it's been the hardest pill to swallow, especially with you know, the news. They pick up a player like Roanoke and things like that, and they see the money being spent down in Phoenix that you know, for financial reasons maybe couldn't be spent in Winnipeg. And you know, the pressure's been there on us, and the one thing that the people in Winnipeg are is they're hockey fans, and they're always going to come out and watch the hockey. We just have to give them a good product to come out and watch, and we've had a disappointing start at home this year, and we hope to turn that around and give them something to come out and watch, and if we can be competitive and win hockey games, they're hockey fans, and they will come out.
Randy, it's been our pleasure. All the best.
Thank you very much.
Randy Gillen, the captain and center of the Manitoba Moose, joining us here in our second intermission, where Detroit has a 5-1 lead. Back with more after this from the Palace.
Frosted Flakes has teamed up with Canadian Hockey to put a Tiger on your team. If your team is involved in minor hockey, get your coach to call this number to join Tony's Team Tiger. Teams signed up collect tokens to score great prizes. A team party at Burger King, starter t-shirts, contact 2 CDs, or the grand prize, Fred Hall autographed Easton hockey sticks. Get your coach to sign up your team, then collect tokens from marked boxes of
Kellogg's Frosted Flake cereal for kids of all ages. They're great.
You can be a part of a golden moment. Adidas and Foot Locker present Face Off in Geneva. Win a trip for 2 to Geneva, Switzerland, and see Canada's best juniors go for a 5th consecutive World Championship. You'll fly on Air Canada, Team Canada's official airline, and stay 6 nights at the luxurious Hotel Giron. Plus, tickets to the games, a ski day at Chamonix, France, and much more, including $700 in spending money. To enter, visit any participating Foot Locker location between November 18th and December 11th, and fill out a ballot for your chance to face off in Geneva.
TSN invites you to join the tour. Get out and experience the greens of the greatest golf courses around the world. Tune in each week for hot spots and exotic locales on Golf the World, Sunday, TSN.
Get on the move this winter with the latest in the world of snowmobiles. We're in tune with the hottest equipment and accessories to make your winter action-packed. Tune in late Thursday for tips and talk on Snow Tracks, right here on TSN.
We've set aside plenty of ice time for some cool moves and hot numbers. TSN presents America's Choice Skate Debate and the Northwest Mutual Team Figure Skating Championship, Thursday, TSN. NFL Sizzle is headed your way Sunday. Go deep and go interactive as the Seahawks and the Jaguars get it on in Jacksonville. NFL excitement, feel the power on TSN.
A 5-1 lead for the Detroit Vipers over the Manitoba Moose after 2 periods of play at the Palace of Auburn Hills. John Allers alongside Darren Elliott back with you, and time for us to now peruse our way around the International Hockey League, a light schedule around the rest of the league. So we go right to our IHL News and Notes segment, and it begins with this Friday's first ever IHL All-Star balloting beginning. The balloting will run between December the 13th and January the 26th for the upcoming All-Star game in Grand Rapids to be played on February the 18th. It's sponsored by the league's official hotel, Days Inn. And Darren, a new twist for the IHL. The fans get involved, a chance for them to pick at least the starters, and I think it should be interesting being the first time around.
Oh, very interesting. A lot of anticipation here in Michigan. The brand new Van Andel Arena, Grand Rapids, has been a great expansion franchise. A lot of excitement surrounding this All-Star game. 6
different Vipers appear on the IHL All-Star ballot. The Van Andel, in fact, has been sold out for all but one of Grand Rapids' home games thus far this season. Should be the norm come All-Star time, February the 18th. Time now to also give our kudos to the IHL Players of the Week. And this week we go north of the border to Quebec, where Rafale forward Steve LaRouche wins the honor.
Deservedly so. LaRouche, it's his second time winning Player of the Week honors. He led all scorers in the league with 7 points, leading Quebec with 2-0-1 record last week.
Then we go far south of the border for our goaltender of the week, Frederick Chabot, who has been white hot, not just last week for the Houston Aeros.
Houston now won 7 in a row, in large part due to Frederick Chabot's play. This is what they expected when they picked him up from Cincinnati in the offseason.
And speaking of goaltending, our final note on IHL News and Notes on this Wednesday evening. Scoring in the IHL at an all-time low this season, well, it could indeed be the case, at least if the first third of the season is any indication. You look at the numbers, scoring in the IHL year by year has been going down for 4 straight years, but as we look at it decade by decade, it is nearing an all-time low.
The lowest it's been in 40 years. Some people say, why is that? Great goaltending? Well, we've seen a little bit of shoddy goaltending here, just some great shooting here tonight. Wouldn't support this stat, but overall there's a lot of reasons other than just goaltending.
And the 6.34 goals a game are combined between the two clubs. Many would say they're not calling the marginal calls anymore. There's a new no tag-up rule involved as well. Also, guys who are in the union will say it is the goaltending. We have to get a footnote in there. 16 goaltenders thus far in the IHL this season with a goals against of under 3 thus far this season. Darren, the all-time record for a season is just 6. Can it continue?
I don't know if it can continue, but the defensive style of play is one thing. Because of all the expansion, you have more goaltenders that have the opportunity to put those kind of numbers on board. been terrific to watch this year, though, from the old Union standpoint.
Yeah, so far this season, D is king in the IHL, and the Vipers hope to keep it king the final 20 minutes, because if so, they should have no problem holding on to a 4-goal lead over the Manitoba Moose. Back with more from the Palace of Auburn Hills, including the third period of play after this.
You can tell which house has the Vicks NyQuil and which doesn't. Bob and Fred both came home coughing, sneezing, stuffy, aching all over. Bob's house had a cold medicine which only relieves his stuffiness and aching. While Fred's home had Vicks NyQuil. It relieves all his symptoms, his coughing, sneezing, stuffiness, and aching. So unlike Bob, Fred gets the rest he needs. That's the restful plus of Vicks NyQuil. It's the cold relief you want to come home to. Vicks NyQuil.
At Maple Leaf, when we reduce the fat in our new lean and light wieners and bologna, we tested the taste with families just like yours. We found we could reduce the fat by 60%, and lean and light would still have that mouth-watering Maple Leaf taste. Any less fat? Well then, we'd appeal to only some members of the family. The uncompromised great taste of new Maple Leaf Lean and Light. Taste that's a cut above.
Slalom, Super G, downhill, giant slalom. TSN's got it all. The world's best are on track and set to fly. Thursday, see women's Super G action from Val d'Isere here on TSN. Get your red-hot hockey right here. Romanuk to Mackenzie, talking puck on your radio. Hockey Today, your daily shot of Canada's #1 sport on a TSN sports radio station across Canada.
The Vipers were enjoying a 3-1 lead after one period of play, and they have extended it to 5-1 after 2. It began with a short-handed goal from Todd Simon at the 7:59 mark. Dan Kessel will get an assist, but Simon did most of this one on his own.
Certainly did. You have to give an assist to Kessel from the standpoint going hard to the net. Created trouble for Riendo, but Todd Simon made no mistake.
You mentioned Kessel going hard to the net at the time, creating havoc. Part of the havoc was Chris Jensen, not a defenseman, is back trying to take Simon. He fails.
Fails miserably. Spelled the end almost for Riendo.
That would come just a minute 23 later at 9:22, when Pete Savaglia would be the recipient of a gorgeous centering pass from behind the Manitoba net from Stan Drulia. Donnelly would get the other assist.
If Simon's goal was foreshadowing, Savaglia's goal is the denouement for Riendo. Beautiful tic-tac-toe.
For Savaglia, his second of the game and 9th of the season, and that would indeed spell the end of Riendo. The Vipers turned away by some good goaltending down the stretch of the period by Fred Brathwaite, who spelled Riendo at 9:22 of the second, and the numbers through 40 minutes of play.
The domination in that second period spelled out by the face-offs. They took control in that second period. Quality chances speaks volumes for the score that we see at 5-1.
In fact, in that second period, Detroit wins 14 of 19 total face-offs. When you have the puck, it sure is a heck of a lot easier to score and control the game. A couple other games around the IHL on this Wednesday night. We mentioned the Grand Rapids Griffins on the road tonight to take on the Cleveland Lumberjacks. In the second, the Jacks with a 4-2 lead, and the Houston Aeros riding the crest of that 7-game winning streak, playing host to the Phoenix Roadrunners. They are 1-0 in the first on top there. And the only other game tonight in the ice, scoreless to the opening period, the Kansas City Blades playing host to the Fort Wayne Comets. In fact, the Vipers will see the Blades in their next 2 outings, Friday and Saturday night at the Kemper Arena in Kansas City. Brathwaite and Perrant return to their respective creases as the third period gets set to start. Detroit enjoying the 4-goal lead. Has been tough to beat no matter what the lead after 2 this season. They are 11-1 when leading after 2. And maybe spelling a little bit worse situation for Manitoba. The Moose are 0-10 when trailing after 2 periods of play.
Well, going back to the keys, we talked about getting that lead and building a big lead. The Vipers have done that. The tendencies are there for a difficult time for Manitoba.
Each team 5 aside, full strength as the third period is underway. Play behind the Detroit net. Perrant stops it for Bobby J. Ahead for Savaglia, up the wall, and Drulia chops it out. Riccardi back into the Manitoba zone after it. Spins it around board. Savaglia trying to keep it in, but it gets by him, and Bobby J in the neutral zone for Drulia, who he scored like that earlier in the game as he fans on it and sends it into the Manitoba zone. Riccardi rockets it back into the Detroit zone. Corriveau, as the Vipers finish a change, cycles and circles his net with it. For Shaw, headman pass just out of the reach of Donnelly. Poked away from him by Thiessen at center. McCrory pays the price. He got bumped, but he got it deep. Back comes Peter McLaughlin for Detroit. Ahead for Shaw, who gets it off the dasher, eluding the check of Loader, and now to center. He'll carry all the way across the line, move it ahead for Donnelly. Off the right wing boards, looking for a trailer, finds him at the left point. Dirk sends it down low, fired right on by Simon. Save made, and the rebound right between the circles off his skate. Stevens sends it to the line. Donnelly keeps it in for Simon. Tried to center it off the skate of Stevens all the way back to the Detroit line. Dirk's pass, eluding Donnelly at center, goes the length of the ice. No icing as Thiessen comes back to play it. For Wilson, Samsonov beat him to it in the corner. McCrory drives it, bouncing around, and Romanuk is offside on the play in what would have been a two-line pass. Instead, it's icing as Jeff Parrott touches up.
Number 20, Stan Drulia, and number 21, Jeff Parrott. Once again, they're shorthanded.
Well, they have made a change on the Detroit goal by Pete Savaglia, the third goal of the game. They have given Jeff Parrott an assist.
More offense by Detroit. Beautiful puck movement. Brathwaite forced to be exceptional here since coming in to spell Riendo.
Puck below the Manitoba goal line. Romanuk battling for it there. Watched by Samsonov. Now we'll leave it for Dubois. Talking about Brathwaite, indeed, he was credited with 10 saves in 10 minutes 38 seconds in relief when the game was already 5-1. Chris Tock, former University of Wisconsin Badger, badgering Perrant with a high drive from center ice. All he could do is send it to the corner. Jensen had it between the circles, but didn't realize he had it. Nobody seems to know where it is. Mongeau's going to get called for a slash as he turned and gave a two-hander to Romanuk. And the Nuns Island, Quebec native will get his third minor penalty of the hockey game.
Mike having a tough time staying out of the box here tonight.
Once again, Detroit's
all these infractions happening right in front of the referee.
19 on 19, and that was lumber on lumber, so Manitoba will go to the power play.
And number 21, Jeff Parrott.
Well, they took Parrott off. That's just a case of being in the wrong place at the wrong time. You mentioned it was right in front of the referee. So was Jeff Parrott. Mongeau just turns, and boy, Romanuk may have gone to theatrical school as well. We've seen him be taken down by the sniper a couple times. It was indeed a slash. I'm not taking anything away from Romanuk, but he has gone down in a heap a couple of times tonight, and he's a pretty big, pretty tough guy.
It wasn't a slash by Parrott. Parrott was playing him from behind.
No, Parrott is serving Mongeau's penalty. We'll put it that way. Randy Gillen on the far side gives it to Pankowitz as Talaire was tangled up with Drulia out high. Shot deflected over top of the net off the stick of Arneal. Drulia gets to it near side. Had it deflected right to the middle of the ice. Gillen and Snyder team up to keep it in. Arneal gets it low, now gets it back. Talaire with a shot that was steered away by Perrant, and then the return pass misses him and comes out to center ice. Just over 3 minutes into the third period. Talaire back into the zone from Pankowitz, has his backhander blocked by Dirk in behind the net. Pankowitz goes out high, finds Snyder, brings it top of the near circle, tees it up, save Perrant. 59 seconds remain, and the penalty to Jeff Parrott.
Well, that's Rich Perrant on his game. On his knees, square to the puck, not giving up any rebounds.
Manitoba, though, John, not creating any confusion in front of Rich, able to see it all the way. Should be an easy save, and it was.
Hit him right in the Viper. Rich Perrant, 5th in the IHL, coming into tonight with a 2.35 goals against average. We talked about those goaltending numbers in our second intermission. And Perrant has been one of the recipients of such play. Coming into tonight with a .912 save percentage, which is better than last year's .908. Last year, after coming from Muskegon, there's an icing call on Manitoba on the power play. After joining the Vipers in late January from Muskegon to the Colonial League, all Perrant did was go 16-0-1 with a .908 save percentage and a goals against of under 3. But he's still a rookie. His backup tonight, a veteran, Jeff Reese, who has been ailing a little bit of late and in fact was unable to practice last Thursday and Friday. In his place, between the pipes, Viper equipment manager Rich Matthews. And points to Rich for donning the gear and going out there, because sometimes during practice, when they know it's the equipment manager, it gets away from them and it gets up high.
Give him credit for gearing up, as they say.
Rich played a little goaltender in Pee Wee and Mites, he'll tell you, but when he plays these days, he plays up front. That's called stepping up for the club. Water bottle knocked off the Detroit net is on the ice behind, and Tardif able to clear the zone. 10 seconds left to go, and the penalty being served by Jeff Parrott. And I'm pretty darn sure it wasn't his penalty. Manitoba, half shot from the stick of Arneal, walkered away by Perrant. Stevens tries to center, that broken up out of the box. Parrott, he's behind the defense, just couldn't quite get to the pass, and it's ruled offside. The Vipers kill the penalty and still have a 4-goal lead.
Elvis Stoico goes for the big one and gets the jump-on taste. The taste of McCain Frozen Punch. Year-round thirst-quenching taste like grape, orange, and McCain Fruit Punch. Made with real fruit juices for real fruit taste that makes McCain the punch of champions like Elvis Stoico. Get the jump-on taste. The real fruit taste of McCain Frozen Punch.
Go for McCain. Get the jump-on taste.
Hey, Annie.
Hi.
Love the hat.
What need it? My hair's a disaster. Look at my dandruff.
That's easy to take care of with the right shampoo. Here.
With ordinary shampoo, flakes can come back, but Head & Shoulders helps eliminate dandruff and stop flakes before they even start, so you may never see flakes again. And your hair.
My hair looks great. Thanks.
Don't get your hat.
Who needs it?
Head & Shoulders, because great hair can't have flakes.
Steve Ludzik's been a bit concerned with his offense. We talked about how he wanted the club to go to the net. Well, of late they have struggled offensively, but it has been feast or famine for Detroit up until now. A little bit of Jekyll and Hyde as well, but still above the league average in scoring.
They've had their moments. Recently, though, as that graphic points out rather vividly, the biscuit was not finding the back of the net. Seemed to have remedied that here tonight.
5-1 Detroit leads it, and icing call on the Vipers will take it back into the Detroit zone. These two teams will meet twice more this season, and the next meeting will be a New Year's Eve tangle up at the Winnipeg Arena. And then all the way into April before they meet again, also to be played at the Winnipeg Arena.
You ever been to Winnipeg Arena?
I have not.
It is a great, great rink to watch a game and play a game. Had many opportunities when I was with the Kings to go in there. Used to play against my former college net mining partner, Brian Hayward. And he was at Winnipeg at that time. Fond memories of that barn.
Well, we'll be there on New Year's Eve. Vipers bring it across the line. Corriveau had it knocked off his stick, goes and gets it. Wilson hit him. Played off the side of the net. Donnelly comes over to get it. Corriveau goes to the front of the net. Donnelly sharp angle shot. Braithwaite just held his ground and knocked that away. To the corner, Riccardi hit by Corriveau, got it up the boards, and now out to center. Dirk turns and throws it off the boards. Simon after it. Now it's into the Detroit zone. Robert Dirk back to get it. Around for Parrott, who wires it hard. Knocked down by Talaire. Tried to bring it in front, but good help from again Todd Simon, who came over to poke it to the boards. Held in. Long shot by Loader. Went wide of the mark short side. Trulia collects the carom and weaves his way to center. Dumps it in and goes in after it. Dubois takes him to the wall. Brathwaite spins it around till Airwaite's near side. He's content to just jam it back the length of the ice, and another icing call coming up on the Moose. Bobby J will touch it up. Coming up at the Palace on Friday, December the 20th, your favorite bartender from the Love Boat will be here. Isaac, the bartender. Ted Lang will be on hand when the Vipers host the Kansas City Blades at 7:30. I don't think he'll be serving them up, but you never know. I'm not sure. Face off to the left of Brathwaite in the Manitoba zone. Savaglia wins the draw. Bobby J steps into one, and he got good wood on it. He just missed the net. In front, McLaughlin looking for a deflection. Crow couldn't get his stick on that. Savaglia sends it low. Crow and Drulia go after it, doing the dirty work on the back wall. Squirts free. Drulia got it to Savaglia. Bobby J pops it home. Bobby J, it's 6-1.
Bobby who? He's been so solid in his defensive zone all year. Now, gets on the score sheet.
Well, in Cincinnati on Saturday, the Vipers, before their game against the Cyclones, had a sheet of paper that had to be about a foot wide, 2 feet wide, and about 6 feet long, and there was a little list of what the coaching staff had to say about each individual player. Bobby J's first of the year epitomizes what it said. It was just a little synopsis of each player. Under Bobby J, it said always solid, good in his own zone, defenseman who can, underline, score. And the guys, of course, got on him a little bit about that. But Bobby J's first of the season proves that he can score.
Well, he looked like a goal scorer on that particular play. Braithwaite being 5'7", a little bit susceptible up high. Bobby roofed it on him.
Puck sent the length of the ice from out of the Detroit zone, misses the Manitoba crease, and icing is called. Savaglia draws the lone assist on Bobby J's first of the season. You know, you talked about him looking like a goal scorer on the goal. Seconds before that, he got set up at the blue line by Savaglia and just blistered a one-timer that barely missed it. He looked like a goal scorer the entire shift.
Especially on the goal, snuck into the slot, teed it up, and just roofed it on Braithwaite, who was caught deep in his net, and being 5'7", just can't cover the top part of that net when you're deep.
And with that goal, he is now +5 tonight, is Bobby J. Granted, there's going to be a lot of guys with good plus numbers tonight for Detroit, but none better than Bobby J. In fact, with Manitoba's goal on the power play, there's no way anybody, obviously, is going to be more than a +5 for the Vipers. Play at center ice. Samsonov and Wilson after it. Samsonov pokes it ahead. Mongeau got to it, but couldn't carry it into the zone, and now it's flipped into the Viper bench. 13-10 remains in the game. Detroit out shooting the Moose 38-20. And trying to put an end to a 3-game winless scheme here at home. They seem to be on their way. The ironic part of that is, as you look at double figures players figuring on the scoring sheet, who has not figured? Sergei Samsonov, who continues to slump from a stat standpoint. You mentioned it earlier. He may not be scoring, but his game has not appeared to have changed. And that's one thing the many scouts that we talked about in our first intermission that come out here to see him play have to be impressed with and have to look for as well. When a youngster like that's not scoring, is he still playing well? The answer with Samsonov is yes.
Even here tonight, he's been so dangerous, even though he has no points to show for it.
Play in the corner on the right side of the Detroit zone. Corvo and Jay over there. McCarty stepped up for a moment. Circling out high, Arneal with a drive, glove by Perron, and he'll hold on. Detroit 6, Manitoba 1, 12.5 to go.
When Marie Antoinette said, "Let them eat cake," did she mean McCain deep and delicious cake with a see-through dome that seals in the rich, moist flavor? So you can reseal it and put it back in the freezer until you just have to have another rich, moist piece. Try McCain Deep and Delicious Cake. With the resealable Flavorlock Dome, you can let them eat cake again and again.
You can tell which house has the Vicks NyQuil and which doesn't. Bob and Fred both came home coughing, sneezing, stuffy, aching all over. Bob's house had a cold medicine which only relieves his stuffiness and aching. While Fred's home had Vicks NyQuil. It relieves all his symptoms, his coughing, sneezing, stuffiness, and aching. So unlike Bob, Fred gets the rest he needs. That's the restful plus of Vicks NyQuil. It's the cold relief you want to come home to. Vicks NyQuil.
Exhausting, extraordinary, excessive, exhibit, exuberant, exposure, extrasensory. Extreme action, right here on TSN.
Palace box office for more information. Playing behind the Detroit net, Bobby J trying to glove it ahead as Gillen had him down. It comes back to him, and he chops it to the corner. Jeff Parrott after it there. Works it up the wall, and Corbo gets it out to center. Simon's on it. Across the line on right wing. Simon drop pass right on the tape for Corbo. Backhander is deflected away as he was picked up coming down the slot. Puck comes right back to the side of the net. Donnelly got it in front, just out of the reach of Simon. Bobby J keeps it in. A bouncing puck that finally the handle is found by Andy Schneider. This pass through center misses both Pankowitz and Gillen. Bobby J, nice little pass off the base of the dasher for Parrott. He gave it away, and Pankowitz turned away on a stick save by Perron. Up and down we go now, as it is plenty wide open. 6-1 Detroit, 11:40 to go in the game. Vipers get a change as they dump it prudently off the right wing boards. Crow, the only one who stayed out, puck into the Manitoba bench. You know, I talked about how Manitoba would react when it became 2-1 early on. The Vipers obviously pulling away from there. It's be interesting to see how the Vipers react now. 11.5 to go in a game that appears to be theirs. But at times this year in games like this, we've seen them wane late, and 6-1 games have become 6-2 and 6-3.
That would be really a shame because of the fine effort they've had here tonight.
Vipers find themselves in the most competitive division in the IHL. All 5 teams in the Northeast are above 500. Orlando, the best team in the I from a point standpoint. Detroit, the second best team in the I from a point standpoint. And then you have Cincinnati right behind with 35 points. They'd be leading the Central Division if they were in that contingent. But even more impressive are the numbers of that division against other opponents as we get a whistle.
Well, you have the winning percentage against the rest of the league. If you take the Northeast Division, it's a mind-boggling 722 winning percentage. And to put that into perspective, kind of beating their heads against one another when they play head-to-head. Go outside the division, they've had great success.
Yeah, the collective winning percentage in the Northeast Division is 6.52. You mentioned the 7.22 against the other divisions. Speaking of other divisions, the Midwest, where Manitoba calls home, not quite as dominant. 3 teams over 500 there, and the Moose find themselves 6 points out of third coming into tonight at 10-14-4.
After their sluggish start, they've kind of crept back into 8th, I believe, in the Western Conference. Not a bad showing. They've had much better, obviously, than they had going here tonight.
McLaughlin's shot deflected in front by Crow after it had been tipped on the way. Savaglia to the corner for Detroit. Allowed to bring it up the board, sends it across the slot. Brulia gets off the far corner boards, tried to send it towards the net. It was blocked. Crow keeping it deep along the back dasher. It eluded Savaglia. Brulia comes over, runs it down. Stevens got a piece of it, and finally the Moose able to clear. Surprised to see Brad Shaw out there, although it's hard to keep a guy like him out of the lineup. I would think he might get a rest down the stretch here, with Detroit enjoying a 5-1 lead. Of course, in a situation like back spasms, oftentimes if it's warm, it's easier to just play. He feeds it ahead for Samsonov, across for Tardif, who scores! And Samsonov finally gets on the score sheet, and you can see the glee in his eye.
Smile on the youngster's face, but Tardif stopped in the corner and immediately acknowledged the fine feed from Samsonov.
He hasn't scored a goal in 15 days, but he picks up an assist here, and Samsonov gives Tardif his second of the night at 7-1.
A beautiful cross-crease feed. The touch of Tardif, no problem, but watch him stop immediately in the corner and look over to young Sergei Samsonov. Appreciative of that fine pass.
Shaw will get the other assist. That is the first point for Samsonov in 15 days. He also picked up his last assist in that particular situation. And now I'm not sure what is going on behind the Manitoba bench. But Jean Perron and a number of his players all turned looking up into the crowd, and I believe security is going to escort some fans to the upper reaches of the Palace. The Vipers hanging out in the upper reaches right now, up by 6.
Whether you're preparing turkey for a party of 60 or a family gathering of 6, it's got to be tender. That's why this chef insists on fresh Maple Leaf Prime turkey for his family. Always tender, always good. Grain-fed, fresh, and uniquely prepared to Maple Leaf's highest standards. It's our most tender, best-tasting turkey, and good value, too, which makes Maple Leaf Prime brand turkey the perfect choice for any occasion. Maple Leaf Prime. Great turkey, every time.
Sergei Samsonov had gone over 2 weeks without a point, but the one he got was pretty.
Head up all the way. I've been so impressed by his recognition in the offensive zone. He showed it there.
Everything breaking down for the Moose as they're down 7-1, and now a stanchion broken here at the Palace, so that'll give us an opportunity to remind you that it'll be a Detroit Newspapers Family Night here on December the 26th when the Pistons host the Indiana Pacers. Same deal as the Vipers: 4 drinks, tickets, dogs, and a tub of corn, along with your choice of 2 t-shirts or Piston hats, all for just $65. A great deal. 810-377-8200. The Hoops hotline is the number to call.
Good idea for a Christmas present. Family packs are such a good value.
Instant gratification, too. You find it under the tree on Christmas and you use it the next day. Maintenance staff having some delay problems getting the stanchion back in place to the right of Fred Brathwaite. And this just compounds what has already been a forgettable evening for the Moose. Down 7-1 with 10.5, what must seem like 10.5 hours to go for them. College basketball returns to the Palace of Auburn Hills as the University of Michigan Wolverines will be here on December the 15th to take on the LSU Tigers, and then just 6 days later, again on the 21st, when they take on the Arizona Wildcats. For tickets, call the Palace box office and all Ticketmaster locations. 810-377-8200 is the Hoops hotline number here at the Palace.
LSU, Shaquille O'Neal's alma mater.
Follow that round ball, don't you?
Sports geek.
Well, the 7-goal output by Detroit tonight equals the most they have had all season. You have to go all the way back to October the 5th. The second game of the season when Steve Ludzik's team clubbed Kansas City 7-3. But again, in making reference to the Vipers' play down the stretch, they were up 7-1 in that one and gave up 2 late goals to make it 7-3. Not that the game was ever in jeopardy, but whether or not they keep the concentration down the stretch remains to be seen. You can check out the Vipers this year on the web, www.detroitvipers.com, for information, scores, and a chance to win prizes. It's an internet service developed and programmed by Sequoia Diversified Products.
That's his 6th for the year. Assisted by number 30.
Tardif's 6th of the year. He has had 2 multiple goal games since coming to Detroit from Phoenix. And Samsonov picking up the assist along with Shaw. It's now 7-1. Back to the play, Talaire into the Detroit zone for Loader. Taken behind the net by Parrott. He just sends it back down low, and it bounces in front where Tardif gets the handle on it. Reverses it away from pressure, and Dirk just hammers it around. Corriveau deflects it to center. Broken stick back in the Manitoba zone as Riccardi plays it ahead. Romanek leaves it for Dubois, gets the red line and sends it in. Parrott back to get it as the Moose finish changes. Ahead for Simon at center. Across the line. Played off the puck by Thiessen. Overcomes Corvo to get to it. Behind the net for Simon. Simon looking to go in front with it. All the way to the line. A bouncing puck that McLaughlin just sends back in. Around it comes. Bobby J thinks about pinching. Donnelly went after it. It's played past both of them and into the Detroit zone where McLaughlin is back after it. Backhands it ahead. Simon gloves it down, sets it down, and now circles with it. 9 minutes to go. 7-1 Detroit. At center ice, McLaughlin rockets it in. Jam back up the boards. Pankowitz with puck support from Thiessen, and they get it out. Wilson tries to fire it in and get it changed, but didn't get it deep. And here's Drulia in a hurry the other way with a long drive, gloved by Brathwaite, and he'll hold on. You know, I had a chance to talk with Las Vegas head coach Chris McSorley after his team won 3-2 in a shootout here on Monday night after being outshot 48-16, and he said to me, I feel like Alibaba the magician. I can't believe I got out of here with a depleted defensive core and being outshot like that and got a win. And his quote to me was, I feel sorry for whoever plays this Detroit hockey club next. He expected what we have seen tonight.
Well, he knew that Leslie would get his team prepared. They weren't that far off from blowing Las Vegas out of this barn. On Monday, the play of Andre Mezzin, the difference.
Face off to the right of Brathwaite, and the shot rocketed right on from Shaw. Rulia steps up and keeps it in. Brathwaite behind the net has to play it away from Phil Crow. Chipped up over and out by Mike Stevens. And Dirk hinging back to get it. Up the middle for Savaglia, who just throws it all the way back into the Manitoba zone. Brathwaite stick handles it away from Phil Crow. Stevens to center into the Detroit zone. Drop pass from McCrory, cuts to the slot, poked off his stick. Crow gives it to Tardif. Didn't get it out of the zone as Todd kept it in. Sent low for Stevens. Younger brother of Scott Stevens firing it in front, and McCrory had to go off his stick to the corner. Behind the net, kick to the near side. Tardif can't play it around Chris Tock for a second time. He's got his number on this shift. Arneal fails to keep it in as Shaw gets it to center. Crow, as the rest of the Vipers go for a change, comes in, snapshot handled by Brathwaite, away for Todd. McCrory has to go off his stick, still not out of the zone, circling with it. Snyder plays it all the way back. Now McCrory at center has a man up right wing. Loader with a long blast wide of the Detroit net. It'll come all the way back to center ice. Now this is what I think both teams want right now. We have what is the equivalent of running time. Loader brings it back into the Detroit zone, trying to one-hand it in front. Picked off, sent up the glass and out. Donnelly races after it. Dubois comes back to get it. Brathwaite plays it away from both of them. Thiessen ahead for Schneider, and now at center, Loader slips the check of Bobby J. Donnelly covers up. And now Simon lost the handle as he brought it into the Manitoba end. Chris Jensen circling back has it there. The Moose entered tonight 4-4-3 on the road, a very respectable road record. But they're on their way to going to the sub-side of 500, at least on the road.
We called it, John. This is pro hockey's version of the mercy rule. Both teams recognize, let's keep the clock running and get this thing over with.
Detroit continuing to work hard, trying to get more chances. 11 different players figuring in the scoring tonight for Detroit. And a multitude of multiple point games. Tardif with a backhander. The save made by Brathwaite as he makes a bid for the hat trick. In comes Talaire, turning on the Jets, tripped up as he fires it across the slot. He goes hard into the boards behind the net, and a penalty coming up to Detroit will give Manitoba a power play opportunity, a tripping call. We talked about running time. The clock ran at least 6 seconds after the penalty was whistled. McLaughlin will get the gate.
That's 921-8879.
And I'll bet you there won't be anybody complaining from the Manitoba bench.
That's number 921.
Yeah, nothing, I believe, has been said, although looking up at the clock is referee Al Kimmel, the consummate professional, if not the glutton for punishment. And he puts 8 seconds back on it. Al obviously has no dinner plans tonight. Vipers will take on the Fort Wayne Comets this coming Tuesday, December the 17th, a post-game autograph session with 2 Viper players immediately following the game. So come on out and stay late. An opportunity to meet a couple of your favorite Vipers on Tuesday when they play host to Fort Wayne. Manitoba goes to the power play, down 6. Blair out high, loses the handle. Here's Trulia the other way. Savaglia joins him 2-on-2. Pass doesn't come through to Pete as Taylor gets back and covers his own mistake. Taylor brings it back into the Detroit zone. Knocked away by Bobby J, who clears the zone. Into the bench for changes and fresh penalty killers. Vipers get Shaw and Dirk out there defensively with Donnelly and Simon. Puck sent all the way back into the Manitoba zone once again. Minute 15 to go on the power play. Loader up the left side into the Detroit zone. Pulls up inside the blue line, takes the hit from Shaw, got the puck behind the net. Perrant leaves it for Dirk. Around the boards for Simon. He finds Shaw breaking at center. He's got a man with him. It's Donnelly. 2-on-2 across the line. Donnelly pulls up in the near circle, snaps it on net pad, save Brathwaite. He battled that one a little bit, but he got in front of it. And away Taylor to center. 50 seconds in the man advantage for the Moose. Across the line, ran into his own teammate Jensen. Sends it down low. Allison watches it go by as it goes up over the glass and out of play. Rich Perrant, 23 shots that he's seen tonight on the high end of his recent activity. Saw only 16 against Las Vegas on Monday.
The Vipers give up the fewest shots on goal in the IHL. Sometimes it can be a distraction for a goaltender, but that's one of the things that's really impressed me about young Rich Perrant. His focus generally has been excellent.
4th in the league overall in defense. Detroit at 2.71 goals a game they're giving up. As Detroit clears the zone, now half a minute remaining in the Manitoba power play. Dubois comes back to get it. He's out there with Allison, Schneider, Loader, and Jensen right now. Puck sent into the Detroit zone. To the line, Schneider keeps it in, throws it across. Parrott goes after it. Mongeau over to help out. Jensen calling for it in the corner, now gives it back to Allison. Bobby J put the body on him to the line. Long shot by Dubois, blocked. Ed Ward up with it. Headbands it for Mongeau. Mongeau across the line as the penalty is over. Now waits for a trailer. Stick handles around. Schneider walks right in and lost the handle, then spun around by a back-checking Scott Allison. Puck cleared to center. Vipers will get it back in as Ward wires it around. Inside 4 minutes to go in the game. Clearing attempt by Stevens just got through Savaglia and Crow to center ice. Stevens fights his way into the Detroit zone. Upended there. It's chopped the length of the ice. Tock goes after it. Savaglia tripped up on the play by Riccardi and will have an icing call. 3:15 to go in the game. The Vipers having it all their way.
This sports break is brought to you by Labatt Blue, true Canadian lager.
Hi, everyone. Brendan Connor in the TSN newsroom. Hope you're enjoying our hockey game. Kind of a lopsided affair, but a lot more IHL hockey to come on TSN this year. Let's get to the hockey highlights we're going to show you on Sports Desk. Show you the Whalers and the Panthers going at it. 2 best teams in the East. 3rd period. Whalers down 3-2, but they come back a mad scramble in front. And Primo backhands one in. Game tied at 2 at that point. Then Gerald Diddick moves in from the point and lets a snapshot go, and that will beat Fitzpatrick. 3-2 for the Whalers. Let's check the score now, and it is a final, and Hartford goes on and wins by a score of 5-2 over Florida, so 2 straight losses for the Florida Panthers. Also tonight, the Montreal Canadiens in Buffalo, 2-2 into the 3rd period, and the Toronto Raptors in Boston tied heading into the 3rd overtime period. Details at 11 on Sports Desk.
Steve Ludzik about to remedy a 3-game winless streak at home as his club has a commanding lead over Jean Perron's road-weary bunch. 7-1 Detroit, 3 1/4 to go. The pictures coming your way via Pass Television and TSN tonight. As always, the radio side of the Viper Hockey Network comes your way 11:30 a.m. WDFN.
Saw Jean Perron, we've mentioned several times. I was a member of the 1984 Canadian Olympic team. Jean was the assistant coach on that team. A look of resignation on his face here tonight.
Off the draw, Jensen breaks his stick and goes to check it as Riccardi goes down in a heap as he tried to take the shot off the faceoff. Now he heads to the bench to get another weapon as the Vipers break out of the zone. Ward across the line and it knocked away by Talk. Talking about Perron, did a little graduate work on the business side up at Michigan State University before going on to be a Stanley Cup winning coach with the Montreal Canadiens. Those darn Spartans, they're everywhere, aren't they?
Oh yeah, parties.
They're like Ford Escorts everywhere you look.
Solid and dependable. The ones that I know anyway.
Behind the play, Tardif. And Stevens getting tangled up with one another as finally somebody gets a hold of him and Stevens starts wailing away and Tardif coming undone. Tardif wasn't ready for that. It was, I believe, Riccardi who was being fended off of him in the neutral zone, and Patrice just skated away from him, and he skated right back into Mike Stevens, who has had enough tonight, and he'll go off with 2:38 to go. And then he has words with Rich Perron on his way to the locker room, and the thankless job of a linesman, the only one keeping those two from going.
Mike Stevens came over from Cleveland at the end of October. He is an effective player. Kind of been silent tonight. This is too little, too late, and he goes after a guy not known as a pugilist, Tardif.
Stevens played 74 games last year while with the Cleveland Lumberjacks, with whom he was with when the season began before being traded here to Manitoba. At 81 points, 252 penalty minutes.
The kind of player Jean Perron wants on his team. I'm sure Perron's going, where was that in the first period?
Well, Stevens obviously stepping up to defend a teammate. Riccardi had been taken out of the play by the linesman. He and Tardif were having words. Tardif thought that was the end of it. He turned away and headed back to the Detroit bench, and Stevens was right there to greet him. See if we can pick up where it all began. Tardif with a, now that was in defense of Stevens coming over, and then Stevens went to town.
There's a blow coming up here to the back of Tardif's head that's illegal in the ring.
Stevens was ready for another dance partner. He and Riccardi each pick up 2-minute minors. And obviously the 5 minutes for fighting on Tardif and Stevens as well. So this one refuses to end quietly, and the Vipers will go on what appears to be a 2-minute, two-man advantage.
Do you think that Rich may have...
You don't think he chirped, do you? Goaltenders haven't been known to do that, have they?
It was classic. You don't turn your head, but you're chirping behind that mask.
Well, they're back. See them on the American Music Awards Monday, January 27th, and soon after, see them at the Palace. Steve Ludzik says, well, guys, this is practice now. We're going to work on the 5-on-3.
Poor Brathwaite's going, just what I needed.
Freddie Brathwaite ready for this one to end, I think, since the minute he got the nod midway through the second period. Came in when it was 5-1, has played well, giving up 2 goals. Has seen 21 shots since he entered the hockey game.
19 of them quality scoring chances.
And the Vipers with a chance to set a season high for goals in a game now. On the power play, there's really been one of the, I guess, few negatives you can find in tonight's game. They have not scored a power play goal as yet.
Number 16, Mike Stevens.
They work it high, Simon. Across with Donnelly. 5 forwards on the ice right now for Detroit. Mongeau trying to work in between the circles for Savaglia, and it's sent the length of the ice by Andy Schneider.
18 for Chase Tardy. 5 minutes for fighting.
Vipers rush it back out to center. This is Donnelly across the line, high in the zone, leaves it for Simon, touches it ahead now for Savaglia right side. Pete takes it to the corner, works it high. Simon patient across for Donnelly, fakes the shot, sends it low. Drulia in front, and it jammed behind the net. Goes and gets it. Stand to the point now for Simon. 1:45 to go in the game. Mongeau to Simon, back to Donnelly. Again low and knocked off the stick of Drulia. The 3-man penalty killing so far by the Moose, and Schneider able to knock it down, couldn't get it out. Mongeau out of the corner, cross for Drulia to Donnelly. His one-timer is blocked. Right, this goes back a little bit to what Ludzik and Dudley were talking about earlier. Vipers trying to make the pretty play, and they finally make it. It's a hat trick for Pete Savaglia. About 10 seconds before that, I was shaking my head. Why didn't Stan Drulia shoot? Well, he passes again, and he and Savaglia each now with a 5-point night.
Dominating performance by the entire Vipers squad. Now they have their power play goal. You'd have to say that every phase of their game was top-notch here tonight.
Second hat trick of the season by a Viper. Dan Kessa did it earlier this year at Cleveland. He and Drulia now with 5-point nights as Simon gets the other helper.
You have to remember, John, these are the kinds of chances that the Vipers have been getting, putting these kinds of shot totals together and coming up with 1- and 2-goal games. Frustration, exercise that frustration here tonight.
Vipers now have 5 double-figure goal scorers on their squad, as they still are on the power play. That's their first power play goal in 4 games, in fact. 8-1, the 8 goals represents the most scored this season by Detroit. But of those 5 goal scorers who are in double figures, the team leader is still Dan Kessa with 11. And then you have 4 different players with 10. Mongeau, Simon, Savaglia, and Samsonov.
This team that Rick Dudley has put together has great balance, great veteran leadership, and then, of course, the youth with Samsonov and the excitement with his young legs.
They got 5 players on the team that are currently on a pace for 30-goal seasons. You don't have anyone on the team on a pace for even so much as a 35-goal season. The coaches will tell you it's nice to have a sniper, a superstar, a Craig Fisher, who last year with Orlando had 75 goals, but you'd rather have the options that the Vipers obviously have this year. Brad Shaw made it through tonight's game. And Randy Carlisle, the assistant coach and assistant general manager of the Manitoba Moose, looking on. He can't be too happy.
We're playing against Randy, nicknamed Kitty,
for obvious reasons. I have to send out birthday greetings back to Tim in Vancouver tonight. Those come via Robert Dirk, who we had on in our first intermission. I think Dirkie wanted to get those wishes off in our interview and failed to do so. And based on what we saw him do to the water fountain, I think when he asks us to say happy birthday to somebody, we do it.
Plus all the kind words he gave the broadcast crew.
I think his tongue was firmly planted in cheek when he did that, but we'll accept them. They don't come often enough. And wins like this don't come often enough either, and the Manitoba Moose don't mind if they're not on the other end of something like this for a long, long time. The Vipers have it all their way after giving up the first goal of the game and cruise tonight to an 8-1 victory over the Manitoba Moose, snapping a 3-game winless streak at home, and now they can head on the road where they have been virtually unbeatable this season.
Terrific performance from start to finish. Other than the first maybe 4 or 5 minutes of the hockey game, Vipers firmly in control.
Pete Savaglia with a hat trick, a 5-point night. Stan Drulia a goal and 4 assists, and the Vipers win it easily. Detroit 8, Manitoba 1. Back to wrap it up at the Palace after this.
You can tell which house has the Vicks NyQuil and which doesn't. Bob and Fred both came home coughing, sneezing, stuffy, aching all over. Bob's house had a cold medicine which only relieves his stuffiness and aching. While Fred's home had Vicks NyQuil. It relieves all his symptoms, his coughing, sneezing, stuffiness, and aching. So unlike Bob, Fred gets the rest he needs. That's the restful plus of Vicks NyQuil. It's the cold relief you want to come home to. Vicks NyQuil.
McCain changed potatoes into crispy bite-sized taters.
It's McCain tasty taters.
Bite-sized taters, crispy and golden brown on the outside. Crispy, so they lock in all that tender potato flavor you love.
You'll love the crispy flavor in a bite-sized taters.
McCain tasty taters in crispy bite-sized tater flavors. Cheese, regular, or Cajun.
You'll the flavor in a bite-sized tater.
McCain tasty taters, crispy flavor in a bite-sized tater.
Last night, huh? So what happened to you? Last I heard, you were headed for some body-piercing place. Man, that stuff's too weird for me. Anyway, I'm sure you didn't do anything too stupid. 'Cause hey, you're the man, cool guy. See you at the beach.
From back rooms to boardrooms, from pastime to prime time. Hooked on Pool takes you on a refreshing tour of the current game. It's an opportunity to explore modern trends and current fashions, and a chance to unearth some hot spots and meet the best in the game. Special guests and expert advice. It's all part of the package. Dufferin's Hooked on Pool. Don't miss it.
All right. It was a long summer. No time to exercise. Yeah, I've heard it all. Now you have no more excuses. TSN Fitness. Don't miss it.
Before the puck is dropped, Saturday nights are spent here. SO NHL Saturday night. This weekend, TSN.
A therapeutic victory tonight for the Detroit Vipers, 8-1 over the Manitoba Moose. John Allers alongside Darren Elliott back with you at the Palace of Auburn Hills, where the Vipers had struggled coming into tonight, winless in their last three, 0-2-1, and as is so often the case, you can't score, and then when you can, it comes in bunches. It came in a big bunch tonight.
As I said, as the broadcast closed, we had the first 5 minutes, Vipers kind of struggled, and after that, they just took over in all phases of the game.
Detroit's 8 goals, representing the most they have scored in a single game this season, and somewhat a big win for Detroit. You don't want to get in a situation where you're struggling at home. This team's 10-2-1 on the road this season. They now improved to 9-5-2 at home, but a loss tonight would have had them maybe thinking, why can't we win at home?
And in dominating fashion really helps because of that. You don't want to say, boy, all we can do is put shots on the goal and don't come up with what we want, the big win. Here they got 8 goals. Their efforts were rewarded.
The balance continues for Detroit as 11 different players appear on the score sheet tonight. Pete Savaglia leads the way with the second hat trick of the 96-97 campaign for Detroit. He adds 2 assists for a 5-point night. Maybe more importantly, Stan Drulia with the 5-point night.
Well, 5 points for Stan, and he really started, I thought, got the Vipers going. He was the first Viper to kind of put the forecheck on Manitoba. He got things going, made good plays at his own blue line, blocking a shot, did it all.
Yeah, he got a lucky bounce and got a goal to get Detroit started when they were trailing in this game. It wasn't the prettiest goal in the world, but it got him and the Vipers going, and they cruised from there, 8-1 our final. Time now to take a look at tonight's stars of the game, and no surprise, they all come from the eggplant and aqua side of the ice. Our number 3 star of the game tonight, Stan Drulia, a goal and 4 assists, and you hope he can use this as a springboard.
Oh, I'm sure he will. A veteran like this, he knows 5-point games don't come very often. He'll put this to good use.
Of those 4 assists, the Viper captain was feeding, for the most part, Pete Savaglia, the all-time leading scorer in Detroit history. Just a 5-point night and a hat trick as well.
Well, and he did a lot on the offensive zone face-offs, and that led to a lot of offensive chances for the Vipers tonight.
Tonight's number 1 star of the game, one of the 11 who appear on the stat sheet. From a scoring standpoint, all he had was a goal. At last check, this was when it was 6-1. He was +5. Bobby J with a great game tonight.
And we talked about it in the opening. He certainly did step up, and he carried the mail back there on the blue line.
And without the services of Ian Herbers, his defensive partner, he turned into the offensive force tonight, although just the 1 goal. But again, pressure on him as well as the rest of the Detroit defense. There was question marks as to how effective Brad Shaw would be tonight. He had back spasms. He was able to go. Didn't see as much ice time as he usually does. Guys like Bobby J had to step up. He did.
Well, we talked about Bobby J. He's always dependable. Tonight, you could depend on him for defensive zone cuts.
Live from the Palace of Auburn Hills, tonight's International Hockey League action as the Detroit Vipers playing host to the Fort Wayne Comets. And a very good evening, everyone.